he stole her fucking wallet. He stole her car. He stole all this shit. You know what I'm saying? So, like... And then, meanwhile, he wants to try to have a problem with me, and I ain't even done shit to him.
Well, you slowing up his mission. You know what I mean? The mission of destruction, I guess.
Yeah, and that's got to be... Fucking destroy your own shit.
Yeah, bro. I've been on the move. Like, I dropped my peoples off at the job at like 7 this morning.
Yeah.
So then I was like, all right, well, let me hit the Y. You know what I mean? Get that in for about an hour and a half.
Working out and shit.
Yeah. Do some cardio. Right. I actually thought about you last night. We was talking about the sweat and shit.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, let me get in here and get a good sweat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The whole hour of just, it don't start until the sweat start. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like an hour of the sweat.
And I'm just trying to get to that to where I can start working out. Because all I can do is go for walks right now.
Well, right now they got some shit where it's $1 until January, but then even like it's income based too. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if you don't have no income or whatever, it'd be like $1 or some shit a month.
Oh, I want that.
Yeah, you already know. I'm on the same shit. I paid up for 2 months. $2.
$2.
So I'm feeling it, right? I'm like, okay, I'm off to a good start.
Yeah.
I get a call. Well, okay, you know, my ladies at work, she get off at 11:30. They on some, we're gonna do a half day because of the holidays type shit, right?
Oh yeah.
So I was like, all right, cool. But she didn't know if she was gonna get it or not. So she let me know at like 9:30. I put one to the head, was trying to get right before I go in.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, cool. You'll be ready at 11:30. That gives me about an hour, 2 hours to get it in. So then I get it in for an hour and a half. I'm like, all right, let me just grab you. Come on, we're gonna shower and chill. On the way home, I get a call from the school. They called my girl and was like, your daughter passed out or whatever. They left a message and was like, oh, you guys need to come and get her. So we go up there. So I'm like, you know, what happened? And the nurse, I go in the building, the nurse is just sitting there on the, like in the computer, you know what I mean? Like not really like responsive to
the situation.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like you would think, you see the parent, you called and told the parent that the child passed out and didn't really say much. It was just like, you need to come up here. So then I get here, but you sitting in the computer. So that threw me off because I just don't like the lack of professionalism, the lack of consideration. Yeah, seriousness, consideration for another human being's situation. You know what I mean? So she's sitting there in the computer. She's like, oh, well, you know, she just passed out and, you know, her blood pressure was a little low and, you know, you guys can just take her home. And I'm like, in my head, I'm listening to this. I'm like, that shit don't make sense. Like, at what point do children pass out? And she was like, oh, you know, I just checked her blood pressure, but I don't really know what's going on. So I'm like, when she said that, I don't know what's going on. Well, I'm like, well, why didn't you call 911?
Right. Like, as the only person that understands any type of fucking health shit.
Yeah, exactly.
You couldn't make a phone call like, I don't know what's happening. You should
medical
come and make
professional.
sure.
Yeah.
Because this is somebody's kid.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And even and you would
incompetence.
Exactly. So I'm like, they teach us that in kindergarten. You know what I mean?
Like,
to call 911 if in an emergency.
Yeah.
Right.
Because kids just don't pass off for no reason.
Exactly. And if you don't know, fine and fair. But you should be calling an ambulance because it could be something serious. Right? Now, thank God I wound up taking her, and it ultimately wound up being nothing, but we didn't know that, you know what I mean, at the time.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, so why didn't you call 911? And immediately her whole, you know, she started to kind of get on her heels, like, as though...
Yeah. Oh, shit, somebody spotlighting me? Somebody spotlighting me for not doing my job? Oh, my God. Like,
what are we doing here? I'm like, okay. So I'm like, all right, so why did you call 911? Oh, well, that's not our policy. Our policy is to call the parents. So then I'm like, okay, so hold on. So your policy is for children to pass out and you call the parents. You don't call 911. That's what you're telling me.
Oh, man.
And
it's so hard for y'all parents, bro. There's be so many dumbasses throughout the school system.
Yeah, bro.
It's a broken. You're better off fucking doing the shit yourself.
You are
in some situations.
In a lot of situations,
if you got it.
Yeah, and to be honest, I did. Like I just this one that this happened to, she's in 6th grade, and this is her first year in public school. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
And I saw like at that age and stage, it started to become somewhat counterproductive because it became difficult for me to keep them off of the devices.
Right.
And then, but then it's like, okay, so if I'm enforcing you to be off of it, what are we gonna do in place of this? So then it became, rather than me being able to be busy with what I need to do to advance the agenda as the man and head of the household, now I gotta kind of come over here and make sure you guys are good and kind of micromanage you all day.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah. And which, you know, that has its place too. But I'm only one person, you know what I mean? I only got so much time in the day.
Right.
And then I figured, okay, let's start to address some of these challenges that this messed up reality is presenting. Right? I taught you for these amount of years. The important thing, no, at this point, I need to be able to see that you guys can take charge and can do the right thing, right? As far as make the right choices.
Because 6th grade going into 7th grade, like that's when a lot of people's lives fall apart.
Yeah,
like that's
included.
how mine was.
Yeah,
like that's when I started making some poor decisions, bro.
Exactly.
That's when I started smoking first. That's when I was hanging out with all the older people, and then unfortunately,
stay out late.
With the whole public school systems too, man, is like you never know what you're gonna get in there.
That's
you know
true.
What I mean,
that's true, because it can go either way.
Yep.
And then I figured, well, you want to protect them, but the problem is that, like, let's say all of the shit that you've been through or that I've been through, right? None of which we would want to have to repeat as far as the traumas. Yep. But at the same time, those traumas have helped to make us who we are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're
challenges. As far as like situational awareness, you know what I mean? The ability to pick up faces, ill intent, read energy, read the room, you know what I mean? All this kind of stuff as a result of those difficulties. So I'm like, well, if I protect you too much, you won't be able to move, you know what I mean? Like your whole world
You'll be too comfortable.
Yeah, or you'll be too like naive as to the evils of the world we live. Yeah. So then I'm like, all right, well, at this point, I think it's better to just put you out here, and we're going to have to navigate these waters together. You're going to have to start to swim. You got to make some decisions. And within that, you are going to make mistakes, right? But there has to be an acceptable, like, threshold, right? Like, you can't be out here. If you got a daughter, to me, having a train ran on you in the bathroom is not an acceptable mistake. You know what I mean? Like,
no.
But something like peer pressure, right? Like,
cigarettes and
I would hope. Yeah,
things like that.
Yeah, I would hope not, but trying it, right, and being like, I was wrong, but I succumbed to pressure. I didn't want people to make fun of me, and just feeling how that works out, because everybody tells their parent. Every parent tells their child, "Don't be a follower, be a leader," right? But how many are actually the leaders?
I mean, the parents saying that, right? Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
very
it's like,
small group of those.
Right.
You know what I'm
saying?
And those people aren't always available to just make other leaders.
Exactly.
You know?
So
you have to make yourself into something
you do.
Similar to that.
You do. And it's like, and we need the environment to experiment with all this. So I'm like, okay, school is an acceptable kind of zone because it can go very far left and it can go very far right. A lot of which is up to the
person
individual.
making the decision.
Yeah.
Yep. And for me, when I was in high school, man, I was lucky because I grew up with people that stole all the stole shit, right? So I had people that would rob the Tasties truck as a kid with garbage bags and fucking Hostess snacks and shit. Like, remember, like
Wonder
the one
Bread and shit?
Yeah, back when they used to have that over off of Rice.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do remember that truck. I remember that Schwan.
I know.
Swanson. Was it Schwan or Swanson?
Swans.
Yeah.
Food delivery. Yep. And they got good shit in there.
Yeah.
And I knew people that would steal from that. And
when they go in.
And I would bring that shit to school, bro, and I'll hustle it out my locker. Yeah. You know, and that's what kind of built me up in school because I did my own thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I didn't have to be a straight pothead, or I didn't have to be an alcoholic. But when I was making money out my locker and selling snacks and shit, I used that money to buy cologne for both men and women. So now I got both guys and girls waiting on me at my locker.
Right.
You know, it was the first. Wasn't even my first hustle, but it was the only hustle I had in high school.
Yeah.
Because I had a situation I was in that, for instance, we're not going to eat all these.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Might as well try to sell some of them.
Right.
And because of that, man, that's what made me comfortable in high school, is having my own lane.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
right.
I don't know what that's like for women. You know what I'm saying?
I don't either, to be honest. You know, and then as a teenager, you're going through like adolescence, the hormones, and you're starting to come into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm over that shit.
For real. Now, I'd imagine it comes on harder, stronger for a guy, but people are different. You know what I mean? Girls can you know, as it comes to sexual nature being activated in a person. Some men are more sexually oriented than others, and some women are more sexually driven than others.
Yep.
You know, it so happens, it seems that
sex drive. It's a sex drive.
Right.
There's different levels to that.
It is, but when you like your hormones are just starting at that age, you know what I mean? And shit's swinging. One day it could be high, your testosterone or your estrogen. The next day it could be low. You know what I mean? And your emotions are high or low. What's going on in life? You're not a child anymore, but you're not an adult. You know what I mean? Like, it's
so
just
you really don't know, and that's the thing too, is like most people don't realize it, but saying like you honestly don't know shit is one of the most humbling experiences you can have.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I also think it's powerful. You know what I mean? In the sense that you know where you are. You know what I mean? And you're not ashamed to be like, listen, I don't know. Like, but again, that's one of those things where we can talk to each other until we're blue in the face, but until a person is in a situation, we don't really know what we're going to do. You know what I mean? So school, I looked at it like it's a kind of a comfortable muck-up zone. You know what I mean? Not comfortable, but...
Well, I mean, you had to go at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Because if you didn't go, that's when... Because I was truant. I went through truancy multiple times.
You know what's crazy? That was like my beginning journey of like probation and shit like that. Truancy. I got put on probation for truancy.
Yep.
And that was like the beginning of my downhill
and then
slide.
You got caught up for a couple other things that just made it worse.
Right.
It was a chain reaction.
But it started from that. And then from there, oh, well, you were supposed to be home at 9. That's a violation. Yeah. Right? So we want to lock me up. There was this shit here in St. Paul. It was called Kohler Hall.
I think my little brother ended up there.
Security unit or Kohler Hall. It used to be, I think it was like a 7 to 11.
Yep.
And then if you really had a stretch, it was like what was it? Like 14 to 21. It was like, damn, they got 14 to 21. You know what I mean? But we talking teenagers though.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
Like if you now, obviously your stretch is 40 years or some shit, 20 years. We understand that, but as a 15-year-old who just was truant, you like, shit, I gotta go do 2 weeks, 3 weeks just because I came home late.
Yeah. And you know something? You wouldn't have had to go through that, right? If you would have just, like, because for me, like, my parents gave me one rule. And that one rule was just be home before the lights came on. My parents didn't coddle me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because my parents were busy fighting their own shit.
Right.
They weren't watching. They were just hoping that I came home every night.
Right.
And because I was in that situation, multiple times I didn't come home at night, I saw what that would do. Right. So I would rather deal with that than to be dealing with going to some place where I can't get out of. You know what I'm saying? So me, I got lucky. I ended up in foster care multiple times, right?
With families? Or?
With whole different, like, all over the place.
They were decent, though? The people you were with?
Some were, some weren't. Okay. There's people that do it just for the money. You know what I mean? And
even for that, like, as long as you can treat people, like, acceptably, I don't necessarily mind that. You know what I mean? Obviously, that's not really a good reason to do some shit like that. But if you could treat the kids decent, I'll still accept that. You know what I mean? But when you be on that, oh, shut up, he's locking basements and shit, giving them peanut butter and
see, we have that problem up on the reservation, bro.
For real?
We just caught a native family that was taking care of all these native kids, bro, that were doing that exact shit you just said. Had them locked in the fucking basement, barely feeding them, collecting the checks and
peanut butter sandwiches and shit.
Just like bare minimum shit, you know? And there's a lot of people out here that don't look at kids to have any value at all. And that's
you're
pretty
right,
fucked up.
Well, more specifically, kids that's like us, black, native,
minorities.
You know what I mean? People of color. Now, true enough, they do it to everybody. I won't say that they don't do it to white kids.
Right.
I think it's messed up.
Yeah.
No matter what the ethnic background of the kid is.
No, because a kid should just be a kid.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're a father,
right.
There's fathers all across the world
right.
that think the same way that you do about their kids.
Right.
In similar, maybe not in the same language, maybe not in the same perspective,
right.
but they all want the same thing. They just want their kids to be better than them.
Exactly. Better opportunities, better quality life.
Better prepared. And
right.
one of those, you know, quotes that I can't remember who said it, but it's a father's job to pack the suitcase of the son to get ready for life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's deep.
And unfortunately, I'm just one of those people that didn't have shit in the suitcase.
You're not the only one, though. You know what I mean?
And right. And so, as somebody in that situation, I had to go and fuck up everything. Like, I had to fuck up so many times, but I didn't make the same mistake twice. Or if I did make the same mistake twice, there was something I wasn't getting.
That's what's up.
You know what I mean? And I'm humble enough, and because of my Native American background and the way I grew up and being around women, and you know, don't get me wrong, I had my dad around. My dad was actually not my biological dad, but he was still my dad.
You talk about this one over here?
The one I'm talking about that I'm doing he took care of me. Even though he had his issues, he dealt with fucked up shit in his childhood. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that dark shit, right?
Malevolence is a good word for it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because that's what PTSD comes from. That's where mental illnesses come from, is when you come into contact with something extremely evil. Right. And you can't get over it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a lot of people, when that happens, bro, like, just imagine something just scrapes at you. Right. You know what I mean? And just takes a chunk with them. You know what I mean? That's kind of what it is.
Right.
And that's how I felt for the longest time. I was just like, why am I like this? Why am I so angst? Why am I so wound up? Why do I have to...
Ready, you know what I mean?
Why am I so ready for something bad to happen? You know what I mean?
Almost even like expecting this shit sometimes. Bro, you ever been at like, you ever like been at the checkout, and let's say you got fresh EBT, food stamps, you know it's 2, 3, 4, 500 on there. You know it, right? But you just be worried that the shit gonna even say decline. You know what I mean?
Like, I just grabbed everything. I just grabbed everything.
You done looked at it,
yeah. I just got off the phone with them. And it's just like... But
That's
you know
crazy.
something? You know where that comes from, man? That comes just from the anxiety of, like... And this is just me, because anytime it comes to me doing something new, I get fucked up doing it the first time by myself. Right. Like, I can't figure out how to... I can't figure out how to get over that fucking first time. You know what I'm saying? That's where a lot of my frustration comes from. Like, like an example of that is this DoorDash shit. I don't know anything about virtual wallets. I fucking barely knew shit about my own banking shit. Right. I just knew I worked, direct deposit, and I could spend it. You know what I mean? Right. But because I didn't understand how money works and saving money and these things, bro, I kept hitting a wall. You know what I mean? And I was lucky enough to figure out the situation right now where I can take a little bit of money off, and, you know, I was going to go do my laundry today. You know what I'm saying? Because I got to do laundry.
But I'll do that shit tomorrow, too.
But when it comes to me doing anything for the first time, like, I've never even been on an airplane. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So getting on an airplane for the first time would be something that would have to be, like, walked through. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But here's the thing, though, bro. Like, on the one hand, like, while we when you like look at like how somebody in the NBA, for example, how many stories? Remember you remember that 30 for 30 series where they were showing people who went broke. You know what I mean?
Allen Iverson.
Yeah,
in a sense.
Yeah, well, he did do some stuff, but he still wound up with a little bit left, or enough left. His little bit is a lot to us. Shit.
Right. Yeah.
But like a famous one is I think his name was Anton Walker.
Okay.
He made like $100 million, bro, and wound up with on E. You know what I mean? One cat who was playing with LeBron, the owner of the Mavs, wound up picking dude up at the gas station, like looking and like he was spaced out and shit. Like, you know how people be here on Cedar and shit, or down here in Tent City.
Yeah, I got beat to death almost over there, bro.
This one down here?
Tent City, Minneapolis. Different story, but go ahead. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
So from our side, how we see shit, you tend to look and be like, damn, how you make $100 million go broke? How you make, or even a more famous one than that, KG got hit. His accountant hit him for some crazy number. I think it was like 20 mil, 50 mil, some shit where his accountant was managing his money and he got clipped like that. You know what I mean? For M's.
Yeah.
So it's like even like when you come from these
situations,
these incomplete upbringings, these disenfranchised to some extent, less advantaged upbringings, while that might make you sharper, faster, jump higher, run longer, that's cool. A lot of us though tend to neglect the fact that we gotta increase in our financial IQ, our financial intelligence, our emotional intelligence, our spiritual intelligence, our sexual intelligence, right? Like you can't be knocking up strippers, bro.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And expecting to be happy.
Yeah, or like a productive, like freaking Brady Bunch type family or some shit.
Right.
Because you had you knocked up the top tier stripper in Atlanta or some shit.
Right. That's why I ain't going to Atlanta.
You know what I mean? And even if that happened once, again, considering our background, okay, we'll give you that. We might even give you 2, but 7, 8, 9. 12 times, you know what I mean? To where
you're just where everything has to not be split.
Yeah.
Less than 9%.
Right, because there's a cash benefit for these hoes, and they are hoes, you know what I mean? And they're for per child, you gotta, and it's based on your income. So when they get a lawyer and they get child support and this and that, some cats was paying out tens of thousands.
I knew somebody who was taking care of me. This OG California dude who was paying $1,100 a month because of his conduct in court for child support. So like, he was the first time I had heard like, if you don't take care of your kids, this is what's going to happen to you. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? The child support, because like as bad as this is going to sound, do you listen to Dax? Do you listen to any of Dax's music? He's like a Christian rapper.
No, I never even heard. Oh, you know what? I might have.
He was just on the news, bro. Like, he was all over Saturday Night Live. Like,
did he do some shit? Like he be doing like country music type stuff too.
Sort of, yeah.
With,
one of his,
I think he did something with what's the black country singer dude?
Shabuzi.
Like Darius Rucker or something.
Okay.
I think I heard one track of his, and it was kind of on some spiritual type stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And Dax has been around for a while, but he doesn't get any credit because a lot of stuff he talks about is God. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Or he talks about narcissism, or he just talks about his life because he's like a manic. You know what I'm saying? Like you can tell he's a manic just because of where he's kind of all over the place, but he's like, God made me this way. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I fucked with his music, because there's a lot of really good pieces in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, one song that I really like is God's Eyes. It's just literally a song called that. You know what I mean? And it's an extremely good song, but it resonates with me in a different way, because it's just like my experiences while listening to this song hit differently, just like they would hit anybody else differently.
Right.
Because that's what we do with music. We interpret it with our own experience.
Absolutely.
And some of us that are so damaged, we interpret that in a fucked up way, or a completely different way than anybody who's not like us would.
Ultimately, though, it should have some kind of a healing, elevating kind of scenario should happen. You know what I mean? That to me, if a song does that for me, where it's like I feel encouraged, I feel inspired, I feel like how we sit here and chop it up, right? If a music makes me feel like that, like where you having an authentic, real recognized, real OG saying for people who know the streets, been loyal to yourself, loyal to other people, for loyalty's sake. It's not about the people you're dealing with, you know what I mean? Like, You're honorable because to be honorable, there are certain requirements, and you can't fake it. You know what I mean? I know everybody want to act and play the role, right? But certain things, I believe, even if you're a great actor, you just can't fake. Eventually, it'll catch up with you. You're gonna have to drop your act, right, at some point.
And you know something? The word honor, that's one word that you could ask 1,000 different people, and it would all have 1,000 different answers.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I'm saying?
It is.
And for me, bro, like I have a tattoo tatted on my chest. It's an Ojibwe. It's pronounced Ogitchita. Ogitchita.
Ogitchita.
And that's Ojibwe for warrior. That's Ojibwe for warrior. And I got that when I was 17, 18. And I'm getting tatted up by OGs from California. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And they're just like, you're going to have to earn that.
Right.
They told me that a long time ago.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I was just like, you're right. You can't just have bullshit on your skin. And in my opinion,
you shouldn't. Or I look at it like, okay, that should like if you get something that's not you now, it should like inspire you to become. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That kind of thing.
Yep. And having to look at it every single day when you look in your face, it reminds you.
Yeah.
The other one I have, bro, is I have one on my back, and it's a dream catcher with an eagle and 2 feathers. Like I said, all these tattoos I haven't gotten into, because when I ask people, I love asking them this question. What do you find is more with women, I'll say more attractive, right? Yeah. But with men, I'll say, what do you think you can learn more from? Right. Tattoos or scars? You know, because I'll switch it up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And for me, bro, I'm looking at your scars. I'm looking at your scars, bro.
Yeah. Because the thing is, like, tattooing used to be something where it wasn't as common and it was more
taboo.
It was taboo. It was for sure taboo, especially in your face and things like that. To some extent, I still think it should be. Like, so I think it's over the top.
You still got to interact with people.
Yeah, it's over the top for sure. But at the same time, there was like it was more well thought out because of the taboo nature of it. It should be more like purposeful, you know what I mean?
It was
more
a story.
Like, yeah, more intentful, you know what I mean? Yep. More meaningful, more impactful, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And for me, man, one thing that I've been able to honestly talk about or be honest with, bro, is like throughout my life, I've had acts of kindness from strangers that I would have never thought would have helped me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, kindness is the type of currency that is very, like, rare now.
Yeah.
And
even
it's
like
because,
competence too, bro.
Well, that too. I mean, but you
even
know,
though you're paying for that, though.
Kindness doesn't cost anybody nothing.
No, it doesn't.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
it's just you have to acknowledge the person in the moment that you're both in and say, do I think this person is gonna be okay, or do I think that if I gave this person a couple dollars to get something to drink, that they'll actually do that? You know what I'm saying? Like, because that's what I do.
Right.
I've had a homeless guy. His name is Isaac, and he sat in my car with me downtown. And he a
nice whip, by the way.
I love little I love the little cars, bro. Yeah. I used to have a Prelude, an early '90s Prelude, little 5-speed.
Yeah.
I got in a T-bone accident, bro. But I was whipping that in a manual, just loving it.
Man, let's say I'm on, right? Like optimal circumstances, and you just looking to add a few toys to the lineup. You know what? The probably a 90-something car that I'm getting, and I'm souping that mug all the way up.
What is it?
You already know what it is.
Is it Supra?
No.
What is it?
Starts with an H.
An H.
It's from Japan.
What is it?
It was a dub to fill up. The Honda Civic, bro.
Oh, the Honda Civic? Okay.
The Honda Civic, bro. That joint, I'm getting that joint, like, some nice little Fast and Furious type shit. You know what I mean? Paint job.
You want to get that bitch stripped out? Fucking.
Yeah, like some LED lights, you know what I'm saying? And that's not an everyday whip, though, right? It's just something you pull out for classic's sake, you know what I mean? Something that's held you down, bro, because gas is still a problem now, but back when, for me, it would have been like 20 years ago when I'm dealing with all this juvenile probation. You know, they closed down Boys Totem Town, County Homeschool, and all these places because of the shit that they was doing for cats in my age group, you know what I mean, at that time. Because they was throwing us in there. And back in those days, man, a dub, you know how much money that was?
Yeah. That's why I was selling snacks. I was selling that. For me, that was 12 years ago. Yeah. So 20 years ago, that was when they had little Debbie snacks for $0.25. Like that, and that's
bro, them hot fries for $0.25, they might still be. I don't know.
You could get 4 of them for $1 type shit.
Right, you know what I mean? But it was like the amount that was in there was like substantive. You know what I mean? For $0.25, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you wake up off of the bitch, and you got $1, bro. You can eat. You know what I mean? Get a 50-cent juice or a quarter juice, hot fries, and 2 Debbie snacks. Or you can switch it up. You can get the 50-cent juice, hot fried Debbie snack. You can get 2 hot fries, quarter juice Debbie snacks. You know what I mean?
Because you had to have something for the hot fries. You had to have something for the hot fries. And like a zebra cake would do it. A zebra cake would get it.
And you would save it for the last okay, let's say I eat the okie doke, the hot popcorn or the hot fries.
And that shit all in your teeth.
Yeah. So you go fudge round or whatever, or zebra or oatmeal cream.
Yeah, I fuck with fudge rounds. Those are probably one of my
Star
favorites.
Crunch, right? Star Crunch.
Now I'm starting to remember all the snacks. But you want to know something? You know what I spent a lot of my money on is Now and Laters, bro.
Oh yeah. Sure.
I broke my
Mike
teeth
and
on Now and
Ike's,
Laters.
Airheads.
You
know what I mean?
Sugar was
the lime.
What was it?
What was the lemon heads?
Yep.
You know what I mean? That kind of thing. But you're right though. I didn't really like the Now and Laters. You kind of had to, be a little bit patient for. I like to just go.
You just had to keep them in your pocket for an hour.
Yeah, they will soften up like that. Especially
walk to the store, walk back, sit around. You know what we did is we actually used to put them in the microwave for 10 seconds.
Okay,
on a paper plate.
Yeah, I can see that. I never tried that, but I can see that.
Just to soften it.
Yeah.
But that's why my teeth are so absolutely wrecked, man. It's because of sugar. I've always had a sweet tooth my whole life.
That's another headache, bro. That shit needs maintenance. You know what I mean? You gotta have your pockets gotta be to the point where you can take care of your teeth out here.
Yeah.
And if
my teeth need some attention. That's why I'm
you ain't the only one, bro.
So.
I just got a plan, for me and my family. Them shits, bro. Look, I'm trying to get insurance, right? Do you know? I'm looking at if I wanted to cover everybody, but this is just something that was at this employment place that I was at the time where I was working. And there are other plans, but the one that they was using, bro, they was $750 a week, a pay period. You know what I mean? Not a month, a pay period. So you look at it, was going to charge me $1,500 a month.
That's
you know what I mean?
That's crazy.
For insurance, and it wasn't even
good insurance.
It was doable, but it wasn't damn, this is incredible insurance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you didn't feel like you were getting bang for your buck.
Nah. It was just some average shit, and they just fork up this much. You know what I mean? And I'm like, damn, that shit, the world we live in, bruh, you gotta be on point, man. That shit needs your time and attention in order to deal with it. If I allow myself to be sucked into why my mom is the way she is, why my dad don't call, why is my family all over the place, why is this or why is that, who's for president, how many people got killed up north, down south, east, west, and all these different things. Well, why is the Jews doing this to the Arabs or whatever the case may be. I found that shit to just be counterproductive. It's good to be informed and aware of what's going on around you, but too much of that, just being in that all the time, every day, watching the news, sleeping with the TV on and this and that.
Yeah, I don't do that no more.
Yeah, bro, I find that to be distracting. You're not going to be able to handle your own affairs, especially dealing with shit like how you dealing with. That shit is mad stressful, right? And it can pull you in somewhere.
Yeah.
and some shit that can drag out for a week. You know what I mean? And before you know it, if you don't grab hold of the situation at some point, you know what I mean? It's incredibly difficult to manage. It's a minefield. And on top of that, no one can really give you answers, because for each of us who are in a situation like that, our situation is unique unto itself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So no one can really say, you should do this or you should do that. You know what I mean? Like, even if someone says something that you trust, ultimately you have to assess the situation as you're in it, you know, and give it what it deserves. But if you don't have the confidence and the wherewithal to do that, because you into some other bullshit that got you vibrating nervous and low and anxious, that's what your world is gonna be like. And before you know it, shit, decades can go by of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and that makes a lot of sense for a lot of different people in similar situations to you and me. I'm lucky because I'm starting over in a situation where I could have started off even worse.
Right.
You know what I mean? Whether
but
that
even,
be...
not to cut you off, but even in your situation, or how you got it going on, and to be as optimistic as you are, and to take advantage of the resources that are in front of you, that in and of itself is the victory, in my view. That's the spirit. Because all of us are going to have ups and downs, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Anybody
100%.
can, you know, you can only be off because you were on. You know what I mean? Like, you can only be down because you were up. You know? So it's like,
it's polarity is what that is.
it is. It's exactly what it is.
That's exactly what it is. And polarity is both positive and negative.
It is that.
And recognizing that everything is exactly the way it's supposed to be up until it's not supposed to be.
Right. Or to take it even a step further and take responsibility for what it is. You know what I mean? And understand that you have the ability to influence, if not control, a significant portion of your reality. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And sometimes I've learned that there's addition by subtraction. You know what I mean? Rather than looking for more, doing less bullshit creates much more. Spending your time wisely, you know, focusing your time and attention, your efforts on your goals, and not letting anybody hijack you and take you for a ride. You know what I mean? Energy vampires and shit.
Yeah, and that's kind of the situation I'm in with everybody I'm surrounded with. So I'm just trying to get to a spot where I can make enough money to get into my own place. And once I get into my own place, I can be calmer in my own, like,
right,
you know what I'm saying? Because like the house I'm in right now is very, very, it's a sick house in the sense, like, there's lead in the water. You know what I'm saying? Like, this house is made, you know, my mother extremely sick and probably even my sister sick.
Right. And
on top of that, everybody in there has their own issues that they're not dealing with. So that's all there the whole time. Right. Meanwhile, I'm trying to be Mr., you know, hold my own fucking hand. And it just acknowledge, like, you know, something, I'm not going to be able to stay here for very much longer.
Right.
You know, because she's going to have
That's wise, though, to recognize that, though. You know what I mean?
And she's got to get to where she's got to go. And she wants to take me with her. And I get paid to take care of her.
This your mother?
This is my brother's. Like, all my brothers and sisters are half brothers. Okay. We're all half brothers and sisters, either through the mom or through the dad. Like, that's my family. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But they're all not giving a shit because they're all holding a grudge against their mom, except for my sister, who's been there taking care of her the whole time. Right? So she's done all the work with taking care of her, but she's got her own baby.
Right.
So she wants to get away from that and live her own life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And here I am kind of just like, well, I don't know if I got housing coming up here because I can't find a job or an income. at this current moment. The only thing I can really do is sit at the house and kind of avoid the bullshit and do some writing or some reading or something like that, because it's much better to do an audiobook or a documentary or something informative. Like, that's what I usually fall asleep to. I'll even fall asleep to, like, you know, stuff that isn't that. You know what I mean? But it's not nothing negative before I go to sleep. You know? And because of the way my brain is and no other way about it, like, my brain works differently. And my brain works differently simply because, you know, I don't have dreams very often. You know, I don't. When I went to therapy and had to do these little exercises of seeing things in your head, can't do that. I can't do that. I mean, that part of my brain doesn't work or something. You know what I mean? So because of that, my way of thinking is just differently. You know, because my brain had to adapt to how it was made, or you know what I'm saying? So,
but I don't see. I mean, it's almost like there's two different places for vision. In my head, I see the black when my eyes are closed, right?
Yeah.
And it's not like if I'm visualizing, it's not like I see a TV, or it's not like I see an image that clearly as if I'm watching TV.
Right.
I see it more like the black is there, but within like the center core is the vision. You know what I'm saying? And it starts off weak, and you can just faintly have concepts of what you want, and then you start to just add to it. You know what I mean? You gotta exercise and visualize and see colors, right? But you gotta stretch yourself to see colors. You gotta stretch yourself to see sounds. You know, hear noises. And for some people, it's easier. And if you and this is why people say, one reason why people say you should have passion for what you do, because if you have passion for what you do, you're gonna naturally want to do that hard work.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if you don't have passion for what you do, you're gonna be like, oh man, anybody on all that shit. Like, I'm good. But then there's this dude, his name is Cal Newport. He wrote this book called Deep Work. And his premise was, you got to be able to lock in on what you're doing to the point where not even your eyeballs can move away. If you see like something out the corner of your eye, if you do that, you got to start over again. That's not considered deep work. You know what I mean? Turn everything off. Don't allow your mind to move anywhere except for on this central idea or concept that you're working on right now. And build up. You start in a small period of being able to do that. And then you build up over time your ability to do it longer and longer. You know? And I think if we look at what we do with our time, I think we may be surprised at what we see. If you really look at how much time do you spend thinking a certain way?
Definitely.
You know what I mean? How much time do you spend speaking in a certain way? You know what I mean? Acting a certain way, living a certain way, consuming like certain material.
Yeah.
You know? Because all that's going to be, it's like, I see it as like a relationship, right? Like your inside is impacting that outer world because it's a reflection of how you're feeling. And at the same time, that outer world is serving your inside. So you get kind of locked into this back and forth. And then it's like, you know, I look at it like when you want to grow and you want to become something more than what you are, like that back and forth relationship wants to stay there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So reality test you type shit.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's definitely it. No, that makes 100% sense. And you know something, just for me personally, I do a lot better when I'm by myself.
Yeah,
you know
you're
what
right.
I'm saying? Right. So like having all these people, especially people I don't know or trust that much, even if they are family, like it's the only thing that is like it's hard to be around people that aren't in a sober state of mind,
right? Or
you know, in a sane sense of mind, or an uncontrolled sense of mind.
Yeah, bro.
And when I feel that, man, it rubs off on me. Always has. I'm an empath. Like that's kind of always. Yep, I'm an empath. Like that's how I've been my whole life. You know what I mean?
Hey, say a little bit more of that, because that's one of those things like, narcissists. People always throw that one around. Narcissists. Not to say that that's what you're doing.
No, yeah.
But they don't really know what that means. The most times when they're saying that, in my experience, they're not really using the word correctly. So if somebody's saying empath, or they think they are an empath, what are they looking for?
So an empath, in my opinion, and this is just like for me from trying to remember while I'm kind of high right now. An empath is somebody who's able to put themselves in your situation and understand why you did what you did.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So like, in a non-judgmental way.
Okay.
And then they're not asking for anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's the opposite of a narcissist. A narcissist wants to latch on to you and give you this value that is so irreplaceable that you feel like you're worth something and you're just being used. That's kind of what a narcissist is.
Damn, that's messed up.
Now, an empath...
I saw a narcissist as somebody who loves themselves a lot. You know what I mean? And values themselves over everyone else. You know? Willing to sacrifice anything and everyone for themselves.
Ooh, that's a good one too. That's a good definition too. That's a good definition.
I think people are intending more what you're saying though when they use it. You know, I've never heard them explain it like that, but I think that's what they're intending. You know, I've heard it explained like narcissist as you manipulate a person. You know what I mean? Like basically like synonymous with being manipulative. You know, or conniving and cunning. You know what I mean? Like plotting and planning kind of thing. Especially as it relates to men to get women. You know what I mean? Like manipulating their minds and emotions in a very effective manner. If you weren't being effective, they wouldn't probably say that.
Right. And what a lot of weak men will do that is get women hooked on drugs that will fuck them up. And fuck their way of thinking up.
Yeah.
And then make them go and fight not only themselves, right? Because that's what drugs make you do. They make you fight yourself.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you destroy your relationships with everybody around you. So now you're isolated, fighting yourself, and here comes this one person who started it all, who's like, I'm here for you.
You know, that get a chick hooked on drugs, man. That's kind of like, that's
foul, bro.
Yeah,
and I've watched that shit happen my whole life, bro.
That's like deeply sick, bro. Troubling.
And that's, unfortunately, like, that's kind of what happens in a lot of these Native American communities, man, is they get hooked on these drugs at an early age by older men who want to make $1 off them. Or, what I'm dealing with, or I'm not even dealing with that no more, but with my ex-girlfriend and her sister is being, pimped out and held on to, and because she has money coming to her every month. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But she's so far off the drugs that she don't want to be at home with her kids. But she's making that choice to be out in the streets.
Fetty.
Probably anything at this point. She was really fucked up off of it. You know what I'm saying? She was one of those people that should have never touched it, because as soon as she touched it, she destroyed herself with it. You know what I mean? She just had 2 kids.
That seems to be the way that shit is going, though. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't really see any happy stories
with
the
people,
Fetty
with the Fetty, with the meth, the coke.
Yeah. Well, I've seen people come off of coke. You know what I mean?
Well, I just mean nowadays.
Yeah,
I'm talking about right now with the coke. I wouldn't do no coke, just because.
I wouldn't either.
Because there might be a 16% chance that there's fentanyl in it or something. You know what I mean? Just because that's where it's at right now.
It is. That's exactly where it's at.
And I'm somebody who came from a Native American family who grew up and had a lot of my family decimated and are gone because of drugs. You know what I mean? Whether it be heroin,
that shit
whether
is
it be
crazy,
meth,
man. And like that shit is really, really crazy to me. Like how people,
like I could go like maybe 10, 15 people in my family are gone just because of either drugs or alcohol related incidents. This isn't talking about just like freak accidents or like, going out. Like my grandma had went out in a freak accident, slipped and hit her head in the middle of the night. You know what I mean? Because as old people get older, they're not being able to be mobile. And I'm in a situation where I'm taking care of an older person who's got one leg and a traumatic brain injury and all these other things, and trying to provide something that none of her kids are going to want to provide her with. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, if I can't find my own housing, I don't really have too much of a choice if I want to stay warm.
Right.
And I might as well be doing something nice. I might as well be doing something for my family.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because as far as women go, man, it's always best to not mess with women until you figure it out yourself. In my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And I just learned this because I just spent 9 years in a relationship, and I'm not trying to blame her or anything like that, because in all honesty, it would have been a lot better had I just acknowledged the fact that I just went through a traumatic experience and I need to heal and figure things out before I go around anybody.
Right.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, I was also in that same situation where I was just like uncomfortable where I was staying at. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it was just like, do I stay here in this uncomfortable situation even though it's, where I can stay, or should I go over here with her and figure out things with her and get things going? You know what I mean? And try to see where we go with this.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm 30 years old.
Right.
I just spent 9 years with a woman. Like that's loyalty.
Right.
And throughout the relationship, yes, I worked at the casino. Right. I was getting hit on by older women all the time. Right. I was in situations where I could have cheated on my girl but never did.
Right.
You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, I had been tempted multiple times. Right. Okay? And I will admit, I did end up kissing and hugging one girl, but I wasn't expecting like too much from that. You know what I mean? Because she was already known as, a doorknob.
A doorknob.
Hey, so I was just like, okay, this is not what I don't want shit to do with this, okay? I went way too far with you, but like I'm not going any further with you. Like, you can move around.
Right.
I'm going back over here.
Right.
But I got caught with that because her cousin came around at work and saw her hug me, so he told on me. He ran home to his girl because his girl was a big girl, right? His girl was a big girl and he was a skinny dude, so like he had to tell on me type shit. And that caused a situation, but ultimately we had gotten past it. But I had spent 9 years working through all these issues and problems, and it wasn't until my mental health hit an all-time low is when I had to sit there and say I really need to separate and isolate. Yeah. Because when your mental health hits a certain point, and where mine had hit multiple times, and I'm a survivor. I'm not a victim. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. I survived shit I shouldn't have. I'm proud of that. Right. You know what I mean? That's only through the mercy of God. For sure. For point blank period. For sure. And I don't know why. I just know that every day I'm thankful. Every day I try to get closer to something, right? For real. But I try to stay away from the stupid shit. For sure. You know what I mean? So like the stupid shit can stay over there.
Yeah, bro. Even like people feeling like obligated. Like this new term, it's kind of new term. It's new to me when people are like, oh, I'm outside, come outside. Like we 12 and shit, right? Oh, you want to go outside? That's how I hear it, right? But it's like people tend to use it like, oh, I'm outside, as in I'm out here being productive, right? Like that's one way it's used. Yeah. Another way is I'm out here on bullshit. You know what I'm saying?
The opposite, right? The polarity in it. It's only in the middle. It's like you don't even say nothing. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You know what I mean?
So yeah.
So it's like, and people feeling obligated to go to certain social scenes. You know what I mean? And just be a part of that crowd. There's a lot that's out here, bro, where you're like kind of just by default in society, you're moved in certain directions unless you take yourself off that pre-designed setup for you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like 21, you should be in bars, clubs, strip clubs, just because you can, right? Like, oh, I can drink now, so let me go get drunk.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? And stuff like that. And it continues to unfold like that at every stage of life. And those things that it's supposed to unfold to, that doesn't come from like our culture or our heritage ancestrally. That shit is from corporations who want to attach our feelings to products, and we attach our self-worth and value by default to those products that are supposed to give us the feelings that we actually have already within us, that we just need to direct and control ourselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Shit that you probably should learn at home, you damn sure ain't gonna learn it in school. But again, we come from these environments where there's a lot of trauma, and you busy trying to keep dollars, food in your belly, and I don't mean food like at a time now where there's a lot of people who just eat excessively and all that. I mean food at a time where cats just wanted to live. Yeah. You know what I mean? Right. And the police and the state was not always as friendly as they are now. You know, it's only because of the way that whole George Floyd shit played out, and how people saw how egregious and evil and tyrannical that was. It was like, damn, like, and it was globally like viewed.
Recognized.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like, damn, like, y'all, that's how y'all moving over there?
Yeah. It's scary, bro.
For real.
I'm somebody that has black family, bro. Like, with my family, my dad's the only white kid with 3 black brothers and sisters. All my cousins are black or mixed on this side of the family. Right. You know what I mean? That's with my higher rank. With us, with my brothers and sisters, from the oldest brother that I have to the youngest, and all my sisters, like, we're now looking at our parents and saying, like, you know something, I might not be the best place in life right now, but I'm here. Right. No matter what it is that you did in your past, no matter what it is that you had to get through, you did it for your kids. And as somebody who went in and out of foster care, you know how sad it is when you go into a foster home and in situations like we grew up, and the kids are saying your parents are never going to come and get you.
Kids are saying shit like that?
Shit, yeah, they'll say shit like that.
Kids are vicious, bro.
Kids, bro. I'm 30 years old, so this was like 25 years ago. You know what I'm saying? But that just showed you the amount of hurt that these kids had. You know what I mean? Because when hurt people.
That's true.
You know what I mean? But these were hurt kids who had just been abandoned and all these things. I went in and out of foster care like 4 times. Right. My mom wanted us, but we just got into bad situations because of the people around us making poor decisions. You know what I'm saying? So we got took away. Right. And being that it was me and my little brother, for the most part, we were together through the foster care stuff. Yeah. And that, you're lucky. You're lucky if you get that. If you have, like, brothers and sisters going into foster care, sometimes they rip you all apart and spread you across the fucking wherever. You know what I mean? And then
That's
what?
Crazy. Yeah.
And then there goes a whole family just kind of disassembled. Yeah. In a way.
Just dismembered, really, shit.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Because now, everybody needs their mom, everybody needs their dad. And for the people that don't have them, they'll tell you that that's what they want. Right. You know what
Probably
I mean?
More than anything.
More than anything. Like, one big thing that, I recognize with a lot of my people that I dealt with around that had addictions is a lot of that shit stems from trauma. A lot of people experience that trauma, and fill it with things that aren't real.
Yeah, bro.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of self-damaging too.
It's very self-damaging because it's all like it becomes a never-ending cycle until you can break it. You know what I mean? Because you're feeling it's like a hole that can never be filled. You know what I mean? as far as like what you're using to feel yourself, you're gonna keep looking to do the same thing to get that same feeling. And if you don't like diversify your ability to get good feelings, right? Like I see it like, bro, you can feel. I don't know if you ever took like a bike ride.
I grew up on bikes, bro. Yeah. That's why we grew up over here, bro. Yeah. Like going up and down this hill, bro. We rode all the way to Wisconsin to the border and back. That's how I still got big thigh muscles because of it. Like that was my childhood.
Said,
riding bikes.
That's another level right there. But that's good. That's good. That's good to hear. But even this hill right here is killer. You know what I mean? The hill on the east side off Arcade, going to like towards Payne. That joint was killer. I used to have to rock like left to right and go like this to go up the hill.
I used to love riding a bike, bro.
Right. But I was gonna say though, like you can feel great off of a nice bike ride, bro. Like accomplishing, like you accomplished something. You know what I mean? So that feeling, it's a dopamine release. You know what I mean? And it's a good one. Yeah. You know? And it's like, I'm not saying like, to me, bearing in mind how deep these traumas can go, I really don't want to come in and say I'm pro marijuana, I'm anti everything else. I will say the fentanyl though is just dangerous. You know what I mean? And I think that shit should just be annihilated because of the danger. And
that's very simple. That's very simple. Yeah. Because anybody who actually values life doesn't want to see death.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And for those that have to deal with death, you know what I mean? Whether that be police officers, whether that be fathers protecting their family, you know, or whether that be military veterans doing the real dirty work. You know what I mean? That was one of the only aspirations I had in my life before I got stabbed to death, before I got multiple stab wounds in my chest and had my lungs ripped apart. You know what I mean? Was to join the military. And because I had spoke to the recruiter the way I did, I said, send me over there. I don't want to come back. He was like, excuse me? I was like, well, ain't that what you want? Because I don't want to die in the streets here. Because I just got approached by my Uncle Bub, my Uncle Bubba, and my grandma. You know, this was 10 years ago before I got stabbed. So this was like before everything. I went and spoke to the recruiter. They came and talked to me. They're just like, listen, Jake, you had a lot of family members that served in the military. Why not just do it? Why not go see the world? I was even talking my buddy into it. Like, we were gonna buddy enlist type shit. Like, you know what I mean? But I made a poor choice instead of staying down here with my family and doing it this way, because I went up to the reservation and put myself in that situation. Everything kind of, everything happened for a reason.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Sure. But because of those instances and recognize it in hindsight, you can learn to appreciate it. You know what I mean? When it comes to trauma, and this is what I learned, is like one of the easiest ways for people to get closer to God and closer to themselves, right? To get past those demons that are constantly behind us or bothering us or tearing us apart. Everybody freezes when they turn around and try to confront them face on, right? So what I was able to do with my own healing journey was to instead walk backwards towards the noise to the point where, this issue or problem was in my face and saying, fuck you, get away from me. I don't want shit to do with you. On to the next one. And that's how therapy, that's how when I had to think differently, that's how I had to do my therapy. You know what I mean? So when I was able to realize and recognize, like, you didn't have calm your whole life. A lot of people miss an entire emotional piece of their repertoire.
Yeah, bro, that's crazy.
And with
not even know you missing it. You know what I mean? And when you don't know that you have that damage, right, or you don't know how to fix it, you need to help. You need to figure out how to get help.
right? And that's what I had to do. And I did that for a long time. We did the meds up until the meds started giving me seizures and melting my brain. So then I had to completely detox. Completely detox, learn how to meditate, find that quiet place. And as soon as I did that, kind of my whole life kind of fell apart, because now I'm in a situation where I can't really do that unless I'm up or the house is empty, or you know what I mean? So like, it gets extremely hard to get back to that calm feeling of relaxing and that peace and that quiet when, you know, me personally, I'm just over here like, man, I got to figure out how to get this done or this done. I got to get this because I got to make sure I got a home, and, you know, worrying about where I'm going to be tomorrow. You know? And I have to remember, because I love listening to older folks talk. You know what I mean? Listening to my grandmothers talk, or, you know, my
they got
great-uncles.
a lot of game to give, bro.
Yep, and
wisdom.
And with wisdom, that comes from suffering. You know, suffering and pain. That's one way to get it. Because
it's also a way to avoid some shit. You know what I mean? Where it's like you can tell, like, through their lived and shared experience, you either do want to do what they're saying and you're like locking it in, like, I got to do what he or she is saying, or I got to not do what they're saying don't do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like,
if they're telling you, listen, son, like, I remember, let me give you an example. Like, a cat, he was in his, he was like 60, 59 or something. And he was like, you know, I gotta start preparing for my transition, and this and that. And then he was like, looking back, there was a lot that I could have did if I planned it and accepted it as a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan. If you just do a little bit every day, after 5 years, it amounts to a lot. And that was always a concept that was just hard for me to accept. Like, I had this notion that, oh man, I'm F tomorrow, you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to get on today. Tomorrow ain't promised. You know what I mean? I'm gonna make this happen today, right now. You know? And then that whole idea driving you to do things that aren't necessarily the most moral, as far as whether it's drug dealing or robbing or whatever, you know what I mean? And not that even, you know, slanging a Dove sack of weed or nicks or something is necessarily a problem. It's just that the game right now, like, those same rules don't apply. Like, with the whole fentanyl shift, to me, it almost makes that whole world invalid. You know what I mean? Like, it's no longer a valid hustle. No. What you're saying is because so much death is possible from it. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a valid hustle, bro. Yeah. For real, I really believe that. Like, and that makes sense, because look at how much it takes to kill somebody with it. You know what I mean? It's yourself, anyone who finds it, the people,
a kid
who
that touches it.
You know what I mean? Your kid. You know what I mean? Like, just so much is connected to that. It's just a chain. Yeah. You know what I mean? And all it would take is one person to have ill intent, or just recklessness and carelessness. And what we know about society that we live in, you know, people have picket signs and they march and they have t-shirts that say people over profits.
Yes.
Right? And I believe that. I wouldn't even have to write that. I believe it so much so. And I would hope that we all believe people over profits. But here's the reality that may be shocking to some. The reality that we currently live and our bodies are embodied in and we walk in, it is most certainly, hands down, no question, profits over people. That's what it is. It's not
because
people
of corporations.
Yeah, but because of them and how far their reach has extended.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Into our everyday lives.
Yeah.
Without us even realizing in many cases. Until you feel that oppression, or that somehow there's an injustice has befallen you, oftentimes it's not until it hits you.
Yeah.
And by then it's too late. You know
That's
what I mean?
That's 100% true.
By then it's too late. So I'm like, the only way for us to avoid a lot of that headache is listening to the people before, right? Why do you have to relive everything? You know what I mean? Like, where we are now, when people lived in the times where the ancestral heritage that's here sleeping or resting, when they were roaming in this area, they knew where the water holes were, where the best game was, where they camped at, and different things. What berries were poisonous, what plants were poisonous. We live in a time now where it's like, if I have a son, even though I know the berries are where the berries are poisonous, the landscape has shifted. You know what I mean? Like, the metaphorically speaking, because we're not really dealing with berries, we're dealing with corporations.
Right. Poison corporations, right? Like BlackRock.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And others. Right?
Yeah.
3M, shit. You know what I mean? Our neighbor. Yeah, but we live with 3M. Shit.
Yeah.
These motherfuckers done poisoned all of humanity with these, what do they call it? Some fluoridated chemical, man. I forgot what they call it, man. But it's crazy. And they got like $1 million fine or something, you know?
Nothing. Nothing.
That's
0.001% profit. That's fucking insane.
It is, bro. It is.
It should be, bro. It should be like, when you get hit with a fine as a corporation, it should be a handicap.
Right. You know what I mean?
Like you should have to sit in a wheelchair after.
Right. You done got a leg amputated or something. You know what I mean?
Like, get the shit right the first time.
Right.
And you won't have the rug pulled out from under you to break your hip.
Especially to make it to go to the extent where they're literally saying that they've poisoned all of humanity, bro. This is what they're saying.
Oh, because of the fluoride.
No, it's not. It's called
whatever that chemical is.
I think it's called PFCs, pre-fluoridated chemicals, PFCs.
Oh, okay.
Something like that, bro. I'm gonna have to look it up and see.
Well, I mean,
but they get a slap on the hand for that. Now, if we were sleeping on the streets as teenagers or people in foster care, and we hustling a dime to survive, we're not trying to get on spending sprees or nothing like that. We're trying to get some chicken and rice from Great Dragon, you know what I mean, for $3.50 or something. You know how good you can eat for $3.50. $5.50. Oh man, $4.75 or something. Yeah. But we couldn't even really get that. We was on Debbie's and shit. You know what I mean? So $3.50 is like, that's gourmet. But
so but okay, so this shit's gourmet. Fuck these snacks. Gourmet shit. That's what he said.
For real, bro. Yeah. But even then, like I wanted it, but I couldn't get it often. You know what I mean? It was rare.
No.
Truth be told, food wasn't even like it. It had to be eliminated from the thought process, right? Like the stomach had to take on a life of its own. It only really activated in extreme cases, you know, because at a point when you trying to come up in life and you got to keep your money, you can't eat like that. Or thankfully, I could afford $1, right? Like I said, two hot fries, fudge round, and a quart of juice. That was a meal. That was
a meal. It was a quick meal. It got you through the day.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, like for me, man, I love having a cup of coffee. Like
right.
That's like, now I've been drinking coffee since I was a kid. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So like that meal is almost like the luxury when it should be a lot better.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And let's say you with a homie or something, and you don't have $1 a day, he don't have $1 a day, but you guys each have enough to where if one of you don't have, then the other can cover. So for $1, that means we each get something nice. You know what I mean? Like for 50 cents, you You can come out okay. 2 bags of chips, or a bag of chips in the juice, or a Debbie in the juice, or a Debbie in the chip. Drink some water somewhere. Hopefully not lead or lead infested, or you know what I mean. Not that at that time we were even really aware of the shit that they're now coming out saying, oh, by the way, these pipes are corroded. Let's try to change them out. So, well, we've been here the last 20 years. So, what about that?
Yeah. and that's what I was trying to tell my sister. Like, you need to talk to somebody about, suing the city about this, because mom's health has been absolutely wrecked. And it could be because of lead poisoning. Right. It could be because of the water. The water is supposed to be one of the most important things in life.
It is that.
It has to be.
Right.
Otherwise, everything else is screwed.
Right.
Whether it be water, just like sunlight, water, flowers,
right.
Flowers, bees.
Right.
There's I forget what this was, but there's these mathematicians, right? And they're trying to run these mathematical equations, but they always end up in infinity. Okay, I don't know what it is, but if you take an infinity sign, right, and you put them together, how would you put them together?
2 different ones.
2 different ones.
I'll probably put them on top of each other.
But if you put them perpendicular, it's a flower. So, like, what if the answer to a mathematic equation was, like, infinity is a flower? Infinity is what women provide. Right. Because they provide life. That's infinity. Because that keeps going through women and men. Right. Right? So
or is it the combination? Because you got 2 sons.
It's the combination, right? Yeah. But only through inside of a woman does that infinity become life. Right. You know what I mean? And what if that was the answer to this mathematical equation for whatever they were doing? But that's just me being, speculative and thinking different about what you can do with, just creative thinking. You know what I mean?
Speaking of which, like, I got something I want to throw in there with that. I got this thing. It's called 1 + 1 = 11.
11. That's my favorite number, bro.
But the thing is, though, look.
I love 11.
It's like, that's still 2, though. Right? But it's like, you see 2, but I see 11.
Or is it the Roman numerals?
Yeah, exactly. The Roman numeral. Yep. That kind of thing. Whereas you look at it and it's, that's 2. But really, it's 11. You know what I mean? And I see that as like the man and woman coming together can easily make 11. You know what I mean? Can easily make 11. It's the vision, though. Yeah. Right? Mind sight. Keep that mind sight sharp and doors open.
That was good shit. I like that. I like that shit.
So that infinity, that man and woman coming together.
Yeah.
That's hard. I like that.
Yeah. Because something, man, it's, in all honesty, like, only God knows everything. You know what I mean? Only God knows why we're here at the same place. Only God knows why everybody's doing what they do.
Right.
For
what reasons.
Their life and reasons, right? Yeah. And only God has built you from the ground up and knew what you would go through. Right. And only God would know that He would recognize your heart.
Right.
He would recognize your heart.
Yeah.
And as somebody who's had that near-death experience and seen the things that I saw, I had gotten there without the Bible, in a sense that I didn't know anything about the Bible. Mm-hmm. I wasn't raised by the Bible. I was raised by, Mother Nature and respecting animals and respecting the way things are.
Right.
And only through learning that, the first, up until I had this experience and then saw what I saw and was like, I'm pretty sure that was Jesus.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But how did I get here? You know what I mean? In this beautiful place. because that's what I experienced was something beautiful. It wasn't awful.
Right.
How did I get here if I didn't read the Bible or know anything about the Bible? You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And it's just like wrestling with that was just like, you know something, whatever it is, if I don't understand it, I just respect it.
Right.
Because that's the best thing to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? When it comes to certain things and like learning and being the stupidest person in the room,
Yeah.
that's kind of where you want to be.
Right.
But you don't want to be locked away.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? In order for that to happen. You don't want to be locked away in a cell. You don't want to be locked away in a place that you're not going to be comfortable and find that full aspiration of yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean? And only through my own comfortability do I find the quietness, the peace.
Right.
That's the best thing in my whole life, right? Is having that peace after not having it your whole life.
Yeah, bro, for sure. And then even because people get it twisted. Yeah, we all need money, right? Like, that's just the reality. You know what I mean? And there's, truthfully, whatever level of income you're at, it could always be better, right? You could always make more, and up until your dying day. So that's on the table at any level we're at in the spectrum of humanity. You know what I mean? That peace, though, is not, in the sense that it takes a certain type of being to acquire it, and even more so to maintain it, and even more so no matter what level of income you may be, or whatever level of life and its intricate workings is coming at you, to maintain it to the extent where even if you got a divorce, you come home, you know, your woman done ran off with your best friend, she took the kids, the dog, cleaned out the bank account, but you can sit down, you know what I mean,
and still find that peace. And still find it, bro. And still sit there and make yourself smile.
Yeah, bro.
You know what I mean?
You know what I mean? For real. Like for real. Straight like that. Start
that's
thinking about
self-love.
next moves. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Start thinking about next moves. Yeah. And then even see it as, you know what? Like, all things are happening for your good. You know what I mean? Ultimately. Yeah, everything's happening. It's all meant to be, and it's all happening for your good. And there's some lesson that you got to take from this. And who knows? You could have been relieved from this woman, these kids, the dog, you know what I mean?
The whole situation.
Yeah, you know? Whatever the case may be, something's in that you need to take, and it's to your ultimate benefit. Yeah. Even if it's nothing other than hitting your ego in a way where you're no longer dependent on those things for your happiness. Yeah. Rather, you turn inward.
Yeah. And in all honesty, I find that when I meditate.
Yeah.
Like, and what I try to tell people about the whole meditating thing, for me at least, and because I think differently, right?
Yeah.
Instead of having my head full of thoughts and words, I activate the other side of my brain and focus on numbers. So what I'll do is I'll count both backwards, right? I'll go -1, -2, but at the same time, I'm trying to either pick up on whatever's in the room. I'm trying to be as quiet as possible, right? But sometimes I'll have something on to, you know, like whatever, like I do yin and yang meditation or something, you know, and picking up on just that relaxing tone, but also trying to hear everything outside of it.
Yeah.
But still maintaining the fact that I'm trying to count either my own breaths or even my own heartbeat.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's where I find it. That's where I find that calm. That's where I find that peace. That's where I found the peace from the therapy that I had put in. You know what I mean? So like doing that work, that shadow work, that's ultimately what it is.
It is shadow work.
That shadow work is and that's what I was talking about, walking backwards and facing facing your own demons, because a lot of people don't, and this is for women especially, you know what I mean? If they can learn to walk backwards towards those things that haunt them and rip the head right off, because now you're face to face with it, and say, you know, I'm gonna shit down your throat instead, get behind me, you know, like that was where I had to be at with it. and ever since then, right? Because that's what shadow work is confronting those demons,
right.
and putting them in place and saying that shit don't bother me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And for everybody who grew up the way we grew up, whether it would be traumatized, misplaced, you know, destroyed,
right.
in any sense of the matter at one point or another, that has to happen. That's how you kind of avoid the whole comfortability. That's how you build your character. Like, everything that I've gone through, I wouldn't change any of it.
No, I wouldn't either, man.
You know, because it built me the way I was built.
Right.
You know, and for me, I was supposed to be a soldier, but I'm okay being a warrior.
Right.
Whether that be whatever, I'll stand on my own beliefs.
Right.
And my beliefs are beautiful.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I just and being appreciative to Mother Nature and God and all the little things, like everything that has life. Life is valuable.
It is.
Whether it be a small animal down to an ant, all the way up to a giraffe and everything else. You know what I'm saying?
Even inanimate objects, stones. You know what I mean? Mountains.
That's
water.
the oldest spirit in the world is the rock, and that's from our culture. You know what I mean? We recognize that as grandfather. He's the one that watches. He's the one that's been here the longest.
Okay.
You know, so like, and that's the beautiful thing about being Native American and having those beliefs, man, is you find appreciation in those things.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's how you feel like you're never alone. That's how you feel like you're always going to be okay.
Right.
Unless you make yourself not okay.
Right.
You put yourself in a situation that you shouldn't be.
And again, look how it comes back to you as the source. You know what I mean? Like of how you feel, being in control of that, and that impacting your surroundings. You know? Because like how we were saying, for the cat who come home and everything but the kitchen sink is gone, but still being able to find that peace. We laugh about it, but it's serious. You know what I mean?
It is extremely serious. It's a breaking point.
Yeah, it is. Exactly. It's also it's making or breaking. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because now here's the battleground to test: are you really about this life of calm?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you can maintain it here, then in all likelihood you can maintain it anywhere, and this is really your ultimate victory if you look at it right.
Yeah.
Because now you're in control. It doesn't matter what the scenario is. This is probably, barring war and complete societal breakdown, this is pretty much the highest state of chaos you can expect to encounter. And then if you're now dealing with co-workers or other relationships or just neighbors or people, you can maintain that calm throughout your encounters. No matter how crazy they get, you can stay headstrong, maintain your situational awareness, and influence and impact the environment, rather than just going for a ride with whatever happens around you with some deer in headlights kind of approach. You know what I'm saying?
I like that though. I like what you said. Not running around like a deer. Not that part. Not that part. You don't want to be that. Because you get hit by a car.
Nah, bro.
You know?
Especially like you just see it coming and boom, right? You gotta get out the way. In a timely fashion, preferably,
Yeah. And where would you go? Where would you go? What would you do?
In a situation like that?
Yeah.
On the highway?
On the highway?
Like if I'm a deer, you mean? Or?
Yeah, like if you were a deer, like you felt like you were that person.
Man, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, and this is why shadow work can be tough, because even if I'm not that now today, most certainly at one point I was. You know what I'm saying? And to be honest about that awareness hurts to some extent. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to recognize. It's not that you don't want to recognize your lowness. or your weakness, but it doesn't give you a good feeling, right? Like, it's like you want to feel good. Like, strength feels good. Who wants to feel weak? It's not something you like celebrate. And I think that's what keeps a lot of people from facing it, right? Because it's like, oh, I look at it and it hurts me, so let me go away. Then I look at it again. Oh, I can't look at that shit. Let me just,
Like,
let me just go this way. But when you look at it, you're like, damn, bro, like that's you right there, you know. And when you don't like what you see, then it becomes an issue of, now what do you do? Are you going to make adjustments to where you can look at yourself and be proud of what you see, you know? And also, you need to forgive yourself. I think forgiveness of yourself, forgiveness of others is very important. You know, to be forgiving in this muck and mire that we're all in, wherever we may be, at the levels of it, the depth of it, and how everybody's operating. For the most part, any natural and well-meaning person is trying to do the best they can. Even if they're not, they're somehow thinking that they are.
Yeah.
You know? And who amongst us is so wide open to just criticism, right? Because it's like, at the end of the day, who's been with you through it all more than you?
Right.
So if somebody's criticizing that you, even though it might be a weaker version of you, it might be a version of you that needs to improve, but that version of you has been with you. It's been loyal to you. It's been the one who's held you down when you were thinking about giving up, when you were thinking about going crazy or whatever, or breaking down. That self was with you. So for somebody who's a stranger to come along and just be critical of that self, it's only right that somebody would be defensive. You know what I'm saying? Who's you?
Yeah.
You know, so I look at it like that, and it would make sense. And it's not for me to just try to jump on somebody for their flaws. So finding myself as that deer in headlights at some point, and saying, well, rather than wait for the car to get to, like, there's that period of time when the deer is stuck, but if they weren't stuck, they can move. You know what I'm saying? So I was fortunate enough to move and get to the other side of the highway with my life, and then I decided I never wanted to be in that situation again. And then I bucked up. You know what I mean? Put a pair of horns on. Okay. You know?
Yep. And for me personally, man, I'm just, the way I've grown up, you know, all my brothers, you know, they all wanted to be gangsters.
Right.
You know what I mean? And even my little brother wanted to be a gangster.
Right.
I wasn't that.
Right.
I was never that. I was always an anti-bully.
Right.
That's how I made a lot of my friends.
Right.
Or if I didn't, I was always the guy in the group that wanted to make sure that my friends could fight.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I don't have respect for people that punch down on people. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
To punch down on people, bro, knowing how dangerous you are. Right. That's where humility comes in.
Right.
Humility is like saying, you know something? Just because you can fucking punch down on somebody doesn't mean you can. Especially if you're somebody extremely dangerous.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of what ended up happening to me. And that's what kind of, that, you know, spiritual stab in my face. Right. In a sense. That should have killed me because it left me marked.
Right.
In a sense, and made me wanted to do something I shouldn't have wanted to do. But when that happened, I was able to heal from it. And I was able to not only see through the bullshit, I was able to be like, okay, this was actually a wake-up call.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This was one of the best things somebody had ever done for me in my life. And this was somebody that was taking care of me for a year while I was living in his house. He was an OG.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't even from around here. He was from someplace else. And he lost his brother. He'd been shot. He'd been stabbed. Like, this guy shouldn't have been alive.
Right.
You know, just one of those survivors. He took me in, and in my worst moments, he pulled me aside and told me a little bit about myself. You know what I mean?
Right.
He had to criticize me, because if he didn't criticize me, he wouldn't have broke me out of the bad habits.
Right.
He wouldn't have set me correct.
Right.
He wouldn't have show me, instead of being an asshole, what you really needed was camaraderie.
Right.
You know what I mean? And a lot of us grow up with no camaraderie because we're too busy fighting with each other.
That's
or
true.
too busy using comparison towards one another.
That's
and
true.
Comparison is one of those things that will destroy you, because that's the thing that will eat you alive.
Right.
Trying to compare yourself to another person.
Right.
That's why I wake up and I'm just grateful to be awake. I'm grateful to get those little things in the morning, like a cup of coffee, or being able to DoorDash and make $40, $50.
Or your freedom, bro.
Or just having freedom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Freedom.
If my freedom was here, that would be cool.
Yeah.
And just being able to move around like that is a blessing, because I got both my legs.
Right. Your eyes.
I got both my eyes. I got my head. I got my heart. I got my stomach, even though I'm covered in scars.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's the thing I'm the most proud of, bro, is my scars.
Right.
Like, if I showed you my scars, you'd be like everybody else. Like, how'd you survive that shit?
Right.
That's what everybody says.
Right.
Because as soon as I start showing my scars and telling the stories of the scars, or telling the stories of, my tattoos, those gladiator inside, paper outside.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's a beautiful thing.
Right.
But I try to be 99% loving and 1% violent.
I agree, bro.
I'm not somebody that wants to be violent. I'm not somebody that ever wanted to be violent.
Me neither. I do find that the ability to be violent when needed is necessary. Yeah,
it definitely
is.
And with the situation I'm in, I'm dealing with a fucking manic psychopath.
Right.
As an older brother.
Right.
Watching him abuse my elders. Like, I'm at the point where either I gotta fucking get involved and try to put hands on him, but he's fucking dangerous, bro. Yeah. Like, he's known for being dangerous. But I'm at the point where I'm just gonna fucking not allow him to affect my life. Not even get a reaction out of him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that's what he keeps trying to do. He tries to get that reaction so that he can justify his own actions. So if I don't give him a reaction, right?
Right.
He can't justify his random assault on me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's just me dealing with my brother.
Right.
And my brother's been a trained fucking wrestler, and he loves fighting. He loves chaos. You know what I mean? He's the opposite of peace.
Right.
And he leaves a mess everywhere he goes. Okay?
He leaves a mess.
He leaves a mess everywhere he goes because he steals. He steals. He takes advantage of people, but he's only doing that to his family.
Right.
Like, what type of person does that? What type of person steals from their own family?
Right.
Like, you gotta have some type of honor. You don't steal from your own family.
No.
I know people, and my mom had told me this. Like, if you were to go to prison, right, and you didn't treat your parents right, or you didn't treat your family right, and these are people that ain't been around their family in 10 years, 5 years, they ain't gonna like that shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's because, again, when you don't have those things,
yeah,
that's what you want.
Yeah, you're right.
So when you don't have no money, that's what you want.
Right.
But to the difference between needing and wanting is the real issue.
Right.
Needing and wanting. Like, I need to be able to wake up in the morning, or I need to be able to get to where I'm needing to go.
Right.
Or I need to be shown something that maybe open my eyes, in a sense.
Right.
That's humbling.
Right.
If done the correct way, and all these things,
Yeah.
To be violent, violence is a language everybody understands.
It is that, and there's a lot of intelligence to be had in violence, and there's a lot of skill to be developed being violent. But it's not. It's almost like, if you think of other areas of the human experience that, if left untamed, undisciplined, can be very destructive, such as eating, for example. you know what I mean, can be something that kills you if you don't discipline yourself right and you don't limit yourself. You can literally eat yourself to death. You know what I mean? Food meant to keep you alive can kill you if you don't manage it right. And other parts of our systems, reproductive system, if left unchecked and unreasonably, responsibly handled, can lead you to your death too.
Yeah. That's very true.
You know what I'm saying? So likewise, that this whole idea of violence in the sense of protecting yourself and in some cases even being offensive, it needs to be intelligently guided and directed. You know what I mean? Not just loosely.
Loose cannon.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Loose cannon, just kind of gunslinging here or there with no real regard for human life. Like a lot of these young cats now. I don't think the issue is so much that people have guns, even though there are some out there that don't want people to have guns. It makes it easier to get that political agenda across when you're just irresponsible like that. You know what I mean? And you're just a loose cannon with it.
Right. If you can't respect what you're capable of doing with it, you shouldn't have it.
Exactly.
So,
and, you know, you want to hit
and that comes with the value of having life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
yeah. For sure.
If when it comes to guns, I've always loved guns. Yeah. I've always loved them. I've gotten to shoot a couple pistols. I got to shoot an SKS. That shit gets your dick hard.
Right.
When you shoot guns, especially when you're good at it.
Right.
You know.
And
so
there's a bravado, a machismo, a certain feeling that you project as a man by knowing that if someone intends you harm, like, not today, you know what I mean? Like, not on my watch type thing. Yeah. That is good. I think that serves to complete a man. Yeah. To be honest.
Because how else are you going to protect yourself and your family and everything you have if you don't have that boundary?
Right. Exactly.
Like, don't fucking touch it and you won't have to deal with that.
Exactly. And I think a reasonable man to another, there's like an unwritten code that respects and understands that. Yeah. And you wouldn't have to worry about it. You know what I mean? Like, they respect each other naturally because that's just the way it is. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to leave you alone because I essentially want you to leave me alone. I'm going to respect you because I expect you to respect me, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's some OG shit. Like, and the sad about that is, like, that's a lost art.
Yeah, bro.
You know what it is? Like, it is.
It's crazy.
It's a lost art of being able to just say, why can't we just get that right?
Right. You know what I mean? Especially without feeling like that's a pride issue. Like, to be ignorant and like, just like we said, loose cannon with violence, that's not honorable. Somehow it seems through the machine working that idea has been projected and accepted by the masses, that it is okay to just be a loose cannon and just firing off 50, 60, 100 shots randomly at crowds.
And I've never respected that. I've never respected that. I'm never somebody who ever thought about doing any of that.
Me neither.
You know what I mean? Because that's the opposite of the value of life, valuing life. Because if you value life, you can see what one person can specialize in or be really good at and put them to work at that and find that value in every life.
Right. And I'm the kind of dude where if I have beef with somebody to that extent where I have 50 rounds in a clip meant for him,
there ain't gonna be much left of them.
You know what I mean? Like, imagine the hostility that you have to have for somebody, or you have 50 rounds in a clip meant for one person.
I mean, you're talking about like 50 Cent, bro. Yeah. It's basically, I mean, it's shit like that. But
where it's like, I'm not gonna, if I see that person is at a bar or something and it's like 20 different people around, I'm not goofy enough to be like, oh man, I'm gonna hit them right now here in front of all these people. And especially if I'm driving by or something like that, not that I would do this, but I just know me and I can see me in that scenario. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's like, nah, that don't work. That picture doesn't match up. Like, I'm not doing that. That's goofy. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. First off, you wait and you catch that person solo. And there are some people who legitimately do need to be moved off board, right? Like, I'll give you an example. I first came back to the hood here a few years ago. I was with a cat that I grew up with. And we was just riding, right, one day. And he was like, you know what, so, you know what, bro? He pulled over the car. We was driving, but he just pulled over the car real quick, and he kind of just sat for a second, turned off the music, and just sat for a second. You know how somebody's like in a deep thought kind of thing? Mm-hmm. And he did that. I was the passenger, and I just looked at him for, I was giving him a second. And after about a minute and a half, I was like, you know, what's up? Then he's like, I think I just saw somebody who molested my daughter. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, he was like, you want to help me whoop him? For real. Now, I didn't have to, because I knew him, I grew up with him, I took his word for it. I was like, look, I said, are you sure? Like, that, first off, that this is him and that these things happen? He was like, I'm 100% sure, bro. Yeah. And I'm 100% sure that
that's him.
Yeah, I'm 100% sure it happened. I'm 100% sure that's him, and I'm 100% sure it happened. You know what I'm saying? So now, what? You gonna help me or not? I'm like, yeah.
Of course. Of course.
Right. You know what I mean? So he jump out, you know, and he fire off him. We kind of surround him a little bit. He was like, what's your name? You got an ID on you. His voice was kind of shaky, though, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was a little weak about it, to be honest. It was an older dude, too. But I get the pressure of the situation, you know what I mean? Like,
man.
I get the pressure. So he was like on one side, I was on the other side. So he fired off of him, you know what I mean? Gave him a right. And then I'm like, he clearly didn't really know much about fighting, because you shouldn't be hitting somebody with your knuckles on their head. You know what I mean?
And for me, bro, I can tell you this right now.
Yeah.
I had my head cracked open.
With a fist?
No, because I got, as a kid, so like I have extra bone.
Okay.
On top of my head here.
Okay.
So that motherfucker is extra hard.
Yeah.
And ever since I saw this boxing movie way back, I forget the name of it.
Yeah.
But I'll intentionally make people punch me there. You know what I mean? Have them punch right there in the head.
Right.
Because that's also the hardest part of your whole head.
Right. I think you talk about Gladiator. I saw that. That was one of my favorite movies right there.
I just remember one of the old.
He said that in there.
He pretended to have his arm broken at the end.
Gladiator.
Yep.
That was one of my favorite joints. Straight
that
up.
was a great
still
movie.
is. It's a classic, actually. I could watch that right now. For real. So, but he's my guy, right? We grew up together. I've never had any issue. He was always upstanding. So I'm here. So he fires off him, but I can tell he's not really. He's not
doing anything with it. He's not punching through them.
These not haymakers, you know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of, it's not strong enough. So, but I'm like, I'm not about to hurt my hands. My legs are stronger than my fist anyways. So I'm kicking him, you know what I mean? I'm kicking him in his head. I'm kicking him in his back. I tripped him up, got him on the ground. I'm stomping him out. Yeah, you know what I mean? I'm stomping him out. Every time he tried to get up, boom, right back down. Every time he tried to get up, boom, right back down. You know? We in the middle of the street. The city bus go by, like, he just drive around. Some lady was like,
mind your business. Mind your business. Go back inside.
That's exactly what it was, bro. And some lady was like, whoa, why you guys have to do this right here in the middle of the street? And he was like, oh, he molested my daughter. She was like, call the cops. I'm like, man, get your ass out of here.
We're dealing with it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Just keep moving, right?
And he's lucky if he gets to walk away from it.
He is, incredibly. You know what I'm saying? So So
shut up and go inside.
So we whooped on him for probably another 2 minutes. I'm doing the majority of the work, honestly. Then he wound up hurting his hand. He was like, yeah, and his fist popped. You can see, like, you know how the knuckle broke, kind of, or dislocated. Yeah. So he was messed up, and then he ran off, and we wound up peeling out, and just chopping it up and moving on with the day. But I say that to say this: there are issues like that occur in hoods where some people need to be moved off board, and in such cases, still there should be proper preparation, and people shouldn't be shooting randomly in crowds.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You got to be respectful of human life out here. But if there's predators,
fair game.
Yeah, especially people you feel you deemed are beyond human repair, people that even if they got to prison are going to be pretty much moved off board in prison anyways. Now, obviously, if you move somebody off board out here in let's say in the public or you free, right? You're in the general population of the society. You could be looking at criminal charges for that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And you got to take that into account. And now, if that's a decision you want to make and you're willing to go through the time, then so be it. If you're not willing to do the time and it's going to be, oh, Your Honor, please forgive me, give me another chance, it was this or that, you may want to reconsider that, whether it's call the cops or figure out something else. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people, they do these things, but they're not expected to do 20 years, 30 years,
And that's the thing about when you go to shoot somebody or kill somebody, you can't take that back.
Right. Which is another reason why I'm like, okay, whooping on people can be highly effective too.
Yeah.
Especially if you breaking legs, arms, this kind of thing. It can really get things done.
Sorry. No, it's just running.
So good.
No, I get that. And one thing I've been trying to get into is once I got some money, was signing up for the boxing over here, just to get into a regiment and learn stuff like that.
The one on
Arcade or Rice Street.
Okay.
I got family that
BT
know.
Bombers on Rice Street or what's on? No,
is it Rice Street Gym?
Okay. Rice Street.
Something like that.
Okay.
But just to get into a situation where I have a mentor.
Right.
In a sense.
Right.
Because having a mentor is a great thing.
Yeah.
If there was anything I learned in life, sometimes some of the best times I had were when somebody had a foot in my ass steering me, keeping me out of the dumb shit.
Right.
And that's kind of how, that OG from California, and when he took care of me, even though he took care of me for a year or a little bit longer than that, the amount of time and effort that he put into me into that year, he called me his son. He called me, he acknowledged me and took care of me and all these things when he didn't have to.
Right.
You know what I mean? And as a kid back then, 15, 16, 17 years old, whatever it was,
right,
I jokingly asked him, what's the meaning of life? You know what I mean? Like, everybody asked that question, right? And here I am asking this guy who'd been through hell and back,
right,
with all of the bullshit he had to go through. He sat me down and was just like, something? I know you're being a smartass with the question, but let me answer it. Doing something so kind for somebody, they can never repay you back in their lifetime.
That's deep.
That's the meaning of life. And how do you do that? Unconditional love. You do that through love. Because he didn't have to give a fuck about me. Right. But because I showed up on his doorstep explaining my situation, he took me in. And he wasn't a weirdo. He was one of the scariest motherfuckers I ever ran into.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, expecting that and respecting that and knowing that even monsters protect their children. You know what I'm saying?
Man. Good ones, you know what I mean? And I'm like, like we was talking about the other day, when we was like, if you watch a cat take care of the kittens, you know what I mean, with love and affection and shit. But a lot of people can't even take care of their own kids, like kittens. Like, bruh, I ain't gonna hold you. I got a cat now that has some kittens, and that shit kind of made me jealous.
No, let me make you jealous, okay? Let me make you jealous real quick, bro. Let me just pull something up real quick. Let me see if I can find something real quick.
That's crazy compared to my own mother's treatment. You know what I'm saying?
Just have to remember this off the top of my head, but so there's this Ojibwe teaching or story, right? And the story is about how Mother Bear became to be the representation of the most protective mother in Mother Nature, right? Because you don't want to come across Mama Bear and her cubs; she'll fuck you up,
right?
Because Mother Bear had loved her cubs so much and was so protective of it. It set like the precedent for how human behavior should have been towards their young. Because nothing is more dangerous than a mother bear with her cubs. You know what I mean? So every mother should strive to be that mother bear to protect her cubs, and knowing and discerning away from danger and recognizing situations, whether she has somebody to help her with that or not. Because the mother bear is in hyper vigilance all the time,
right? Because
she has her young. But I can't remember how the story goes, but because of this story, it kind of tells you, like, by watching Mother Nature, by watching the animals and representing how they take care of it and how they teach their young, it could teach you something. And
dare I say it should.
And if it's not working for you right now, turn around and start looking somewhere else.
Right.
You know what I mean? And what's been here the whole time? Mother Nature.
Right.
The animals. The ground we walk on.
Right.
All these things. All these things that have been disrespected for an extremely long time.
Right.
You know what I mean? We have plastic all the way down in, like, Antarctica. We have plastic showing up in the northern parts of the fucking continents.
That's the same shit we was just talking about with the companies poisoning all of humanity and getting $1.5 million fine. That's a true story, by the way.
That type of shit should leave them handicapped.
Right.
You know? But,
you know what I mean? But now they got it set up where all they would have to do is just change the name and start operating exactly the same. And then the corporation is not a person, so it provides a degree of protection for people, because people operate according to those bylaws, and a corporation's natural interest is to make profits. You know what I'm saying?
Profits over people.
Exactly.
Right.
Profits over people. And we got to know that.
And because they're essentially on a smash and grab mission.
Right, exactly.
That's what they're doing.
And they're not human, so why should they care about humanity? That's not their business.
Right.
Now, you would think the humans who are operating on behalf of the corporation would care about humanity, right? You would think. But these people, they playing by rules where in their mind, they're thinking they have a fiduciary responsibility, right? They have a moral obligation, an ethical responsibility to maximize profits for the corporation, right? So to bring up ethics, right?
As a corporation. So as a corporation who you can just blame all your problems on one guy, fire him and leave him.
Yeah.
Like, we got rid of the broken piece. We got rid of the broken piece. We're different now.
Right. You know what I mean? Exactly. This is tragic comedy, by the way. You know what I mean? It's just not really funny. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But again, right? What do we do in these situations? Because we gotta be, upbeat in spirit as we're combating these things. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of this stuff is just to laughing to keep from crying.
Yeah,
right?
laugh now, cry later, bro. You know what I mean?
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy. And look, I'm the kind of person where, all right, you want to play by those rules? I'd rather not. But okay, fine. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's go that way. But a lot of people aren't, though. They're like, oh, this shit hurts my feelings. I'm deeply disturbed and traumatized as a human being. You know, I can't.
Victims. That's what they are.
Yeah.
That's a victim mind state.
It is.
And for me, with what you just said, I'm so proud of my scars.
Right.
I'm so proud of all the facts that I didn't win every fight.
Right.
I got the shit beat out of me so many times. I got jumped so many times.
Right.
But I survived it.
Right.
And I fought next to my friends, and we either got our ass kicked together or we didn't.
Right. Which has value, tremendous value, by the way. And you get an a galactic deposit, an intergalactic deposit gets made when you're loyal and when you stand up for codes, creeds, doctrines, whatever that may be. And I don't think it's like to expect all people to be Muslim, Christian, Arab, Jew, shaman, whatever people's backgrounds are. I don't think it makes sense to expect us all to be there. My thinking is, let's get behind ideas that make sense for us as individuals that you know best, right? If you choose, my thing is, if you're telling me you're Christian, then be Christian. You know, like, that's for you. Like, that, it's not for anybody else.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of times people get in a hurry to project onto others when they haven't even really fully transitioned themselves. You know what I'm saying? That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't, you know, I'm not, my religion is mine.
And what is that religion?
I'm Muslim.
Oh, Muslim.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm Muslim.
And then, see, I don't know anything about your beliefs or culture.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing, because, you know something? That means I can learn from that.
Right.
And I can learn the right way. Or I can learn the correct information without getting the misinformation.
Right. Exactly. And, you know, and if that's something you choose to do, I'll be happy to do it. But it's not, but that's between us as a mutual, I'm learning from you, you're learning from me. It's not like your mission in life is to go around looking to convert people to what you believe, or my mission is to go around looking to convert people to what I think
everybody should just be open-minded,
right,
and find the thing that makes them feel what they need to feel. Like,
exactly.
One thing for me is, like, I grew up with my Native American beliefs, and that got me extremely far in life.
Right.
You know what I mean? I love my Native American beliefs. Those are number one.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that's what was instilled in me. That's what was taught to me. That was what was passed down to me. That's what's in my blood.
Right.
That's what's in my DNA. But I still want to sit there and look around and respect everybody else's culture and beliefs, because you should.
Right. That's the same way I look at it. Right. And people talk to me, like, a couple times people try to knock on my door. Because I live on the east side still. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm right over there with you. Broadtown.
Yeah. So they're like, oh, do you know Gotti? As a matter of fact, I do. You know what I mean? Do you know? You know, not to be rude, but I just think that's kind of invasive. You know what I mean? I know you want to save souls and this and that, but don't assume that everyone is in need of what you have. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm totally fine with getting to know my neighbors or making conversation. But I don't like to do that to others, and I don't like to have that done to me. I like to look more at philosophy, right?
Yes,
like,
Marcus Aurelius,
Aristotle, Nietzsche, Kant.
Speaking of Aristotle, did I ask you that question yet? Did I ask you the question I ask everybody?
Probably not. I don't know.
Okay, I should have opened up with this. But there's a question I made, and it's funny that you brought up Aristotle, because I found this while studying Aristotle. Okay? Aristotle's, one of my favorite quotes from Aristotle says, small minds talk about people, average minds talk about the day-to-day, and only great minds discuss ideas.
Right.
So when I heard that, bro, it hit me like a truck. I was like, well, I want something like this. Right. I want somebody to quote me, or I want to make something that I can have myself.
Right.
And what that was is a question, and I asked 1,000 people this question. I love people because it's different for everybody.
Right.
But the question is, can you tell me the difference between knowledge, intelligence, and wisdom, and how you attain them? what this is a question for one I would use with women because it would make women stop and think. It's a great question for women because it gets their attention, right? But at the same time, asking men that, we all have different answers because these are three different ideas.
Right.
And they all mean different things.
Yeah. And it could be shallowly understood, and there could be a lot more depth to someone's answers.
And the beautiful thing about it is I've had people say, you know something, let me get back to you on that. Not answer the question. I've had people come back to me in written form, like an essay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because they want to give it that much attention. That's like an appreciative thing.
Yeah.
To make you like, because it's like whatever you had going on in your mind right now, I just put that there for you.
Right.
You know, in a sense that we can talk about this right now, we can talk about it later, but at the same time, when I ask that question, I'm getting a lot out of you because what it is a trauma screening question.
You can ask you here if you want to.
It's just saying, you know, something, is this somebody that's going to recognize that I work a little bit differently? You know what I mean? Is this somebody that knows what struggle is?
Yeah.
Is somebody that recognizes that I might look the way I do, but I struggle. I've struggled my whole life. And when I take my shirt off, between the scars and the tattoo, like, I love myself now.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I look at that shit like I overcame that. That's wild. That's so wild.
It is that. And it's funny you said that, like loving yourself through scars and what other people would look at as like some shit to hate themselves for. You know what I'm saying? And again, I think that's on the same line of going back to the analogy of the guy who comes home and everything but the kitchen sink is gone. It's along that same lines, you know what I mean? Like seeing the beauty. Yeah.
Seeing the beauty in everything, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Seeing the beauty in everything, whether it be people, animals.
Yeah. And a lot of times
it's an art form.
It is. It's an artist who's doing it, you know what I mean? And a lot of times people look at it like, oh, that's fake. You're just trying to be on some Tony Robbins type shit or something like that, you know what I mean? Or whoever, Zig Ziglar or something like that.
I don't even know who they are. So
you know what I mean? Motivational speakers, and they have, and that has its place. But I'm not the one who's like be falsely optimistic. You know what I mean? Authenticity
breeds creation, bro. You know what I mean?
It does.
And being authentic to myself was one of the harder choices I had to be because I was allowing another person to dictate who I was.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's sad.
It is, but again,
but it's a learning experience.
Right. And you should give some grace to yourself, being as though you're coming out of a foster home, multiple foster homes, and whatever other traumatic experiences that have caused you to have post-traumatic symptoms. You know what I'm saying? And considering that, and then going a step further, and rather than seeing that as a handicap or something to be victimized about, to change it up and
flip it on its shell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. And see it as a victory.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then, and even like in recent times, I started to look at it like, how could you go through all what you went through and go through and still not only stay positive, but be like the light of the environment? Like, remember we spoke about we want to be the dumbest one in the room, you know what I'm saying?
Because to want, it's a constant want to thrive.
Right. You know what I mean?
Grow.
And anytime we the smartest ones in the room, that's not really an ideal situation. Now, there are certain spaces, like if you got a woman, children, little cousins, nieces, nephews, that's appropriate, you know what I mean, for you to be the smartest one in the room.
Yeah. That's only fair.
Yeah.
I've been here longer.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or at least you should be. Now, if you're dealing with a prodigy and this and that, great. You know what I mean? Invest in that person and work with them.
Yeah.
But that aside, that's fine, fair, normal, natural. But when you're dealing with adults, people who are even 2 or 3 times your age, and you're the smartest one in the room, that's a different type world right there.
It's a different responsibility.
Yeah, it is. It is. Some people, again, like if we go back to the whole profits over people culture, because it's not just corporations. That corporation, that philosophy from those corporations has penetrated American culture. You know what I'm saying? And it's like reverberating in the hearts and minds of a lot of different people, especially younger people.
And a lot of it comes from what you ingest. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Whether that be books, music, TV. I stay away from TV for the most part.
Oh,
I can't
me too,
stand.
bro.
I can't stand TV anymore.
For real.
And even sometimes my music, I'll be like, okay.
Yeah, I had enough.
Even my music, I'm like, all right, never mind.
Yeah, I'm
never
good.
Mind.
I swear to God, bro. Sometimes something that I mess with heavy, or it would have been a point in life where I rocked it for like a week. You know what I mean, straight. And then it reaches a point where it's like, I'm good. I'm gonna rock with this audio book.
Yes.
I need to increase my hours. I need to optimize my hours of productivity, right? Because if you
learn one little thing,
and be consistent. You know what I mean? Because that consistency is key. 1 day on, 10 days off ain't gonna get it. You know what I'm saying?
And you know something, for me, one of my things was like, anytime I went to sleep, I threw on a documentary, because even if I'm not awake, I'm still listening to it subconsciously. Even if I'm not having any dreams, like I'm still kind of taking some of that in.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not doing anything with it, it's kind of like a plus one.
It is that.
You know what I mean?
I do that with like vocabulary sometimes.
And for me, I would put things on for like, complicated shit, like physics, math, things that nobody else wanted to listen to, but it was the thing that put me to sleep.
Right.
Because I was just like, okay, this sounds boring, but maybe I'll learn.
Yeah.
I'll learn something.
Right. Or if nothing else, you ain't just staring in the dark all night looking to go to the white coats, which really should be black coats, because remember the philosophy, the mission statement, they talk about a Hippocratic oath, right? Look at how funny that is, how Hippocratic their Hippocratic oath is.
He said, I'm calling a flag.
For real. They got a Hippocratic oath. For real, hypocrites. Talking about valuing, not harming the life, doing anything that can harm the life of your patient. But their operating philosophy is profits over people, and that whole thing bleeding into other areas of society. You know what I mean? That shit's just crazy.
And something, it's something that's gotten exponentially worse the better that technology got.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's sad to say and I don't have any kids right now, and I would, in all honesty, it would be really hard to have kids right now because of how overstimulating society is.
Yeah.
And even saying that makes my eyes hurt, because I get overstimulated super easy. You know what I mean? That's why I wear sunglasses all the time. It's like almost a requirement if I'm not like trying to focus on shit.
Right.
Because I don't want to be sitting in front of the TV, or I want to be outside.
You know how like bright it be sometimes, like, and how close, and like the TVs. Like when we was smaller, there was big screens, but they were bulkier. You know what I mean?
They're tube TVs.
Yeah,
they work different,
and they weren't like as
penetrating.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's to the point now where just off the graphics alone, people are spending anywhere from the numbers. I hate to even say the numbers.
Cool.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't.
It's like probably the same as the casino, bro. Probably the same as the casino. You know what I mean? It's probably built the same way. You know what I mean?
As far as the odds,
yeah,
how stacked against us the odds are. Because you got to think, whatever you do. Okay, so we got 24 hours in a day. If we break that into 3 sets of 8 hours for work, on average, right, more or less. 8 hours for sleep, on average, more or less. And then 8 hours to really do whatever it is that you're going to do. Hopefully, that's whatever, right?
Yeah.
That's eating, that's entertainment, right? Whatever it is that you want to do. But if in that 8 on average, we're using 4 or more hours daily for entertainment,
it becomes a hindrance.
Yeah, I mean, on average, folks are doing 40 to 60 hours a week on electronic devices. And nowadays, kids are even on iPads in schools.
Yeah.
40 to 80 hours being in that world. Not playing outside, not really making social relationships, to the point where that world and reality are like merging in their mind. And it could also be in our minds, depending on how much time we spend in front of that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you can take deep satisfaction from watching other people's lived out experiences.
That's true, and that's the beautiful thing about documentaries.
It is that, but you can go into other worlds, though. Some darker worlds, even. You can go from the darkest of dark to the lightest of light, you know? But at the end of the day, you're sitting in one spot, and human beings were made for movement. While we do have an internal, spiritual, mental side, there's also the physical plane. And the corporations benefit from us abandoning the physical plane and letting them reign there while they control our minds and hearts through their whispers of their advertisements and all that. So we become, through their mathematical calculations and schema, we become products. We become a means of
cattle.
their... Yeah.
We become cattle.
Yeah, bro. For their lifeblood.
And no value.
Yeah. Like the essence of who we are, what we're supposed to be, none of that matters. And then they even twisted it in such a way where they can say, well, because of my moral, right?
Beliefs. Because of what I believe I can get away with.
Yeah. My ethical obligation, my fiduciary responsibility to this company and its bylaws. I have to make profit for this company. That's my obligation. Lawmakers, that's their job. But, well, hold on. You pay the lawmakers so they can make laws favorable to you. Well, then still, that's your problem that you...
that you guys didn't get this right. Like, damn.
Yeah, bro. Like, it's pure insanity. Like, I mean, I can't believe we're having this conversation. At this point, I'd rather go, okay, this is the east side, you the west side, this is just it now. Like, it's a straight up Crip and Blood, bang, shoot 'em up, bang, bang kind of atmosphere. You know what I mean? Like, we just can't interact here. Like, your whole worldview is so skewed and far gone, you have no place here. And that's your choice. That's not mine. You know what I mean? Like, you've left reality so much so, you want to tell me that my telling you you've left makes me leave. And you dictate terms on what reality is and how I should be treated for my thinking and you lawmaking and all this kind of stuff.
And you're talking about the politicians.
Well, because they're beholden to the corporations who are donating to their campaigns.
Right. And that's the message that they cycle through.
Right. So they're blaming us for allowing that to happen. So basically, it's about dictating terms from our position of power that we inherently have. And it has nothing to do with asking them for anything. And it has everything to do with us spending more time being and doing and having.
Because opportunities, man, they become less and less.
Exactly.
One thing about when I grew up and was in high school, I was able to take advantage of some really good opportunities.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And they come far and few in between.
Yeah, you do.
And not having somebody to show you, like, listen, this is an option, this is what you can do, and you have this. What do you want to do? And for me, that's just motivational speaking. Show my scars, saying, like, you know something, if I survived this, if I was able to appreciate life for what it was on its terms, no matter how bad or how good, that was what it was.
I agree.
And
even moments such as now. And we were just talking earlier about I was in the ER and what I'm going through in schools that are in full of incompetent individuals, which some of that is given due to my financial status and the zip code that I live in currently,
and the politicians that run it,
right?
Because that's not something we get to decide as, or I should say, you as parents,
right,
of the way that your school system for your children should be built,
right?
You know what I mean? Like that would make a lot more sense,
right?
And being that I was lucky and got to move around all the time, because we moved around every 6 months. You know what I mean? Growing up,
right.
I got to be around a lot of different people, and I got to learn to appreciate that I had a better situation than somebody down the street. Exactly. Somebody's always got it worse.
Truly.
You know? So, like, one of my favorite aspects in life is appreciation, gratitude.
Right.
Because kindness is far and few in between, and it's a currency that most people don't use.
You're right. And that's an international currency. That's a universal currency. That even goes beyond human, animal, animate, inanimate. You know what I'm saying? The way you talk to a tree. Hey, you ever heard of that Japanese doctor? What was his name? Nashimoto or something, where he like spoke to water, and he spoke to rice.
No, I don't know about that one. I know about the master samurai Mitsumoto.
This cat, man, he spoke to rice, good words on one bowl, and then covered it. No words on another bowl, and negative words on one, and on a third bowl, and then he covered it, and he did that every day for like 7 to 10 days or something like that. In the bowl of rice that was spoken good words, after a week, 10 days, it was still like white and good and smelled good. And the one that he spoke the negative words to was like molded and mildewed, and you couldn't eat it. And then also, what was interesting, the one that he left was even worse than the one he spoke
negative.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was interesting, bro. I found that to be very interesting. I thought to myself, like, to neglect a child is even more harmful than being negative to the child.
Yeah.
Or to yourself in certain ways, aspects of your existence.
Yeah.
And now, I liken that to the reality that we're in as far as the abandonment of one's responsibilities in the third dimension. Everyone's good with their head world. And it's like, we're acting like how we live doesn't impact one another when it does. Like, if I can't even get a competent burger flipper, I can't get a competent bag checker.
Yeah. Right.
Dentist, plumber, mechanic.
Because everybody's got this delusion with their own self-belief, pride, and ego, in a sense.
To the point where it's like reality is not even that important. I don't have to really exert myself much with what I do. You know, just whatever. I don't have to be that competent. I don't have to be that on point. You know, I can just kind of loosely do what I do, lazily do what I do. And that is a problem right now. Like, it's not as isolated as we would like it to be, or that we would like to believe that it is. That's bled throughout everywhere in all the industries. You know what I'm saying? Remember the dude from Boeing came out not that long ago and wound up being found dead in a hotel for exposing Boeing, for cutting the Boeing jet manufacturers is making these planes, exposing them for cutting corners and it being safety issues on those jets. And he committed suicide by shooting himself in the back of the head twice. I guess the first time didn't do it.
Damn.
You know what I mean?
I didn't know that. I don't pay attention to the news very often.
I don't either. This shit happened like a year or two ago. You know what I mean? Maybe like 9 months or something like that. But I knew he was gonna get moved off board before he did, because he was coming out against a company of that mass.
Caliber.
Yeah, like They got more money than most countries.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about, right? What's some goddamn $40 casual shoes and $50 Dockers and a flannel shirt with more money than most countries, acting like I'm just this innocent middle class guy who graduated from a good school and working hard and all that. It's sick, bruh. So imagine that being your reality. That's really there. I'm not putting it there. It's there. You know what I mean? You coming out of your crib, like let's say you got the situation you got currently at the crib, and then you come out, and then that's your reality. It's not yours personally, but it's an aspect of what's there. You have to figure out. I have to figure out a way. Everyone has to figure out a way to cope with that in a way that makes sense for me. You know what I mean? Like, how can your view benefit you? Right? Like, you see that and be like, oh, well, damn, I'm depressed. Let me just give up.
Which you should never do.
Right.
You can't. Because your life is a gift.
Right. Exactly. So, but when you're figuring out all that and you're not seeing pleasantries that we all would like to see, because at some point when you come out of a dysfunctional childhood and into adulthood, you're looking for something outside of you that can help you or make you feel good. You know what I mean? Like, genuinely, like without strings being attached, kind of thing.
Unconditional.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
But that's not always there.
No, in all likelihood, it's not going to be there, right? There will be strings, and there will be conditions. And in some cases, there really always are. Unconditional love doesn't mean be as wicked and corrupt as a human being as you possibly can and expect to be loved, honored, and respected. I don't view that as
a win.
Yeah, or to expect somebody to give that to you and for them to not be like, oh, nobody loves me, so let me just get worse and worse, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because that makes you worse. What you feed yourself makes you worse.
Yeah, but then here's the thing, though. Like, are you in tune with yourself enough to realize that it's you who's feeding you that, or are you gonna see it as I'm feeling this because other people are giving it to me? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, can it not be both?
It could. It could. I think it could. And to some extent, it may be.
Because, like I said, I'm just in that spot where I don't even have that quiet place.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm trying to get my shit right, too. So, like, for me, I'm trying to figure out how that's going to happen with either a job, something honest, because I don't fuck around and do dumb shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm too old for it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, like, I don't even know what it's like to have money. I've been poor my whole life.
Right.
So, if I had money, I wouldn't even know really what to do with it. I'd know how to take care of my family, because that's just what you do.
Right.
You take care of the people that were there for you, point blank, period. And you just kindness with it, make sure that you're good, make sure your family's good, because what the corporations are doing is a smash and grab. They're trying to justify that by saying the same exact thing, possibly.
Yeah.
But they're not thinking of the next 7 generations. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The future, which is the kids, and making sure opportunities are always there.
Right.
And that improvement is always there. And
yeah, they're not even seeing that as their responsibility.
No, they don't want you to.
They don't want us to, and they don't want themselves to.
No.
Yeah.
It's easier to look outward.
Yeah, it's not in their interest, though. but they're in a position where they can prevent us because of the reach through their wealth that they have. They can prevent our species. And let me say this. At this point, bro, we're talking about the survival of the human race, right? Like all our sub-pockets of black, African-American, Arab, Asian, this and that, all that shit's getting ready to disappear at this point, right? Like, I mean, we're talking about, we're really about to get moved off board here. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not talking about, oh, it's apocalyptic and this and that. I'm just saying that as far as, like, look how far we've fallen in our own lifetime. Like, in the last 20 years, 30 years, 10 years.
A lot of that has to do with technology. And the fact,
that's what I'm saying.
That how we're able to be easily influenced through not only what was first radio waves.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
With the radio.
Right. Right.
And now it's even easier because everybody's got a connection to the internet.
It is that. And, you know, the thing is, despite what we might think is the right thing and how we should be disciplined and beat the beast by starving it through discipline and working together and banding together and supporting one another, you know, I've been around a lot of different people and I just know them to be different, right? And to gather people around a concept that's not involved with entertainment or debauchery of sorts is a tall order. You know what I mean? It can be done for sure, but I don't even like that idea because you can move the leader, then what? It's better for it to be some sort of a movement or a concept that everybody can just embody for themselves, and we can all willfully work to becoming the better or the best version of ourselves. And through, there's a senator from Minnesota who died in a plane crash mysteriously. He said, Paul Wellstone, we all do better when we all do better. You know what I'm saying? And I believe that.
And that starts by going inward.
Exactly.
And doing shadow work.
Exactly.
And recognizing that nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't have to strive for perfect, but you can try to be the best version of yourself.
Exactly. Forgive yourself. Forgive others.
Yeah.
See the mess that's there. Be honest about the mess that's there. Don't lie to yourself. Right? Let's throw some Shakespeare in there. To thine own self be true. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. And we all got to do that for ourselves. Shadow work is an independent process, you know, and it requires a lot. And the more you give it, the more you get, just like anything else. And you can connect that to your physical nature, your emotional nature, your spiritual nature, and your mental nature, and work on all those different areas. Yet, I also think it's about balance. You know what I mean? Balance in between your ability to move forward and pace yourself out of where you are now. Right? Like if, let's say you know somebody who, or you are somebody who smokes 2 packs of cigarettes a day. Like actual 2 packs from the complete thing. You crunch it up, throw it away. And you decide, well, you know, I don't want to do it like that no more. I'm a proponent of, rather than saying quit cold turkey and just don't smoke anymore, just leave 1 cigarette in 1 box, right? Your first day. Can you just leave 1 cigarette?
You need 1 cigarette?
Don't smoke them all. Just leave 1 in there. You know what I mean? And then wake up the next day and be like, man, I still got 1 left from yesterday. You know what I'm saying? And then the next day, leave 2 in there, kind of thing. You know? And pace yourself. And let it build like that.
By not smoking that cigarette. And
exactly.
keeping it in there.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Just the one.
Just stop. Just stop. I got it. And you know something, as Native Americans, like that's something that we practice is the use of tobacco. Yeah. And it's usually done in ceremonies, and you know, but a lot of the tobacco that is used nowadays has a lot of fucked up stuff in it.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking the same players that have corrupted everything, well, even the water. You know what I'm saying? So, and then now we're in a space where time has to be factored into the way we move, because there are real consequences for our physical nature, right? Through time. And corporations have moved in such a way where 10 years of time with allowing their decisions to impact you will really damage you. In some cases, irreparably, right?
And that's why isolation is so nice.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Isolation is extremely nice. Right. Because a lot of that comes from overstimulating.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you're right.
Especially an undisciplined mind.
Yeah.
Right? An undisciplined mind, like a growing child, having access to this type of information or being overly stimulated and constantly staring at screens.
Yeah.
You know, our eyes weren't built for that.
Right.
You know, and as Native American people, we love nature. We're always out in nature.
I do too.
And for me, I be trying to go out for walks every day. But now that it's getting cold, it's just like, dang, I can't be walking around Frogtown.
Right.
Not now. Right. But
hey, you know what we should do, bro? We should get a fire pit and just go down there, bring some firewood. You know what I'm saying? And go down in the mountain down there.
Have you ever been down there?
No, I mean I've been down there, but I haven't chilled down there. Yeah. You know, but I'll climb down there enough to know that if there's a spot like by this tree or down that way where we can sit, and it's like right on the edge. You can see the river and everything. But I got some carpet back here. We can throw that down there with a fire pit. Chilling.
Nah. No.
You can be chilling, bro. Because, I mean, the heat, you're going to feel good.
I'm already heated. It's heated in here.
Yeah, I mean, not right now, you know what I mean? But, and then it depends, all right? I mean, obviously, we know here it can get really cold, you know? But there are eagles that fly through here a lot. And you catch it on a sun-up day or sundown day, you can really get in a peaceful zone here, especially when it's not crowded and the traffic is minimal. Even the traffic, like over there, like on a Sunday morning or something. Yeah, you can really get peaceful over here.
And that's why I always come up here. And usually when I come up here, I try to keep tobacco with me because that's what we use to pray.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we talked about last time is like giving an offering to the earth and talking to it and having that message go out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which is very similar to, I think, the way you were pointing out, the way you use your rug and pray that way. Is that what you were talking about?
Well, I meant carpet as far as so we don't have to sit in the snow. I got like just this piece of carpet that I had at the crib. But I do use a rug. You don't necessarily need it, but it just makes it easier. It could be sticks on the ground or something like that. And I can just throw that rug out and I don't have to worry about what's on the ground so much. But for me, man, I believe in the concept of prophets and messengers, and that God sent these men with a message to remind us of what we're supposed to be doing here. And he sent laws and statutes and commands that are to be enforced and used as a code of conduct in dealing with one another, dealing with nature, dealing with people who don't share your belief, and dealing with people who do share your belief. And how everyone has a basic set of human rights and dignity, and animals and inanimate objects. All are meant to be respected and only utilized with care. In the way of like the classic Native Americans, at least the way it's depicted, not wasting anything from the animal kind of thing. You know what I mean? Using everything. That's like the ideal situation. That's venerable, honorable, and preferable. Rather than riding trains, getting drunk, and just killing.
Right.
You know?
That's cowboy shit.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
That was cowboy shit, and that's... You know, do you have any idea how many Native American people were here on this continent before they were slaughtered?
No, I don't actually. I don't know what.
It was close to 200 million people.
200 million.
200 million people. That's not even talking about the amount of deaths that happened with like the animal life back then. Right. There was such a massive amount of loss of life that it literally changed the hemisphere's CO2 level. That's how bad the genocide was.
That's insane.
And it was to gain a large swath of land extremely quickly.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of the Native American people all across this country have similar stories and similar beliefs, just like there's similar stories and beliefs with, you know, all the stories dating back before with all different cultures, whether they be, you know, Muslim or Christian or,
right.
you know, Native Americans. But Native Americans have had oral traditions going all the way back.
Right.
And with everything that I went through and already experienced, I got to see something beautiful, which was, you know, where I can only think it's heaven. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I only had to experience hell when I tried to, you know, destroy myself with psychedelic drugs.
Right.
But that was years ago, right?
Right.
And that moment of like giving up and being able to say, you know, I only survived by the grace of God.
Exactly.
That's how you know, like, he's always there. He knows where you're gonna be at. He knows everything that is and why, right?
Right.
So having that and being grateful to wake up every day and saying, you know what, I'm still here. I still have a day, or I still have this, and not knowing what he really has in store for me is the real challenge, right?
Yeah, it is.
That's the real challenge.
Because to me, and here's where it can get a bit trippy. Because in my view, in this space here, as long as you have complete faith in whatever it is you believe, you can believe that this trash can in front of us is your God. But if you got 100% faith with no doubt, and you're able to call upon things and expect, there's a response. You know what I'm saying? As long as you are able to get to that point. So from there, it can become difficult to distinguish right from wrong when a person has untampered, immature like belief or faith in something. You know what I'm saying? Like for example, it could be dangerous to believe in men, for example, because people aren't perfect. So it can shatter someone's belief in something when they find out, oh, I expected this or I expected that, so I don't believe that thing no more because this person did that. You know what I mean? I've seen a lot of stories like that. And to some extent, I've even seen the world differently as a result of people's behaviors. But I have learned to recognize that doctrines are written in ways that men don't necessarily apply. And men are corrupt now in every sphere of life, even religious.
Right.
Dare I say, especially religious.
I mean, no amount of people have died for more reason than religion.
Right.
Going all the way back in history.
Right.
Okay.
Or the manipulation thereof. You know what I mean?
And that's why spirituality is so important, because that's yourself.
That is a serious big homie right there in the private.
That's the nice thing about having that airport right here.
That's a private one right there. Yeah, it is. I like that, actually. That I aspire to be in that from here. That's one of the reasons I come here, to get that stretch. What do you need to do to get your situation together? You know what I mean? Yeah. So,
and me personally, man, like I said, having the experiences in life that I have, without getting too, graphic with the experiences, and just saying, something, that shit made me.
Right.
That's having them scars. That's a beautiful thing. It's called graphically beautiful.
Exactly.
Okay? Graphically beautiful.
Graphically beautiful. That's a wonderful saying right there.
And
graphically beautiful.
And that's just being around people that have had their life completely rocked multiple times growing up, like with my parents, family members. I've had to deal with like everything. I've had to deal with it all, whether it be suicides, like whatever. I've had to deal with all of that.
Right.
And I still have to find a way to smile. And I still have to find a way to be kind. And I still have to be able to do the things that are supposed to be done. And for me, all I'm sitting there thinking is like, let's just be a little bit better every day.
Me too, bro. That's it.
Whether it be a fucking inch or a mile. Some of us are capable of moving faster than others. I'm a turtle. I wear a turtle shell for a reason.
For real.
You know what I'm saying? But
I've ran the rabbit or the hare race though before, and I didn't find it advantageous. The famous story between the race between the tortoise and the hare, or the turtle and the rabbit.
Yeah.
I find that turtle race, man, that's what it is at times, if not all the time. Sometimes you do got to kind of go into a time zone where, if nothing else, you're working faster and your stamina is up, you know what I mean, type thing. But the long game and pacing yourself, it only makes sense. Because our energy is finite in this dimension, you know what I'm saying? So it becomes a point of really valuing where you put your time, your effort, your energy. Because now you can waste yourself away in just nothing, in the ether, right? You can feel like you lived a whole life and never gone anywhere or done anything.
And that's my life right now. I've never left Minnesota.
Not leaving Minnesota doesn't mean that you never did anything or you can't do anything, right?
or had any adversity. That's what it is.
Yeah. So, but at the end of the day, though, that moving forward an inch or a mile, and each of us having a different capacity, and even each of us having a different daily capacity. I know we might all want to go a mile a day, but it doesn't always go like that. You know what I mean? And when it doesn't, there's value in the inch. There's value in any forward move, as long as it's consistent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that's where growth lives. I personally, I'm trying to stand on my feet for myself for the first time, like completely. You know what I mean?
Right.
And in order for me to do that, I gotta get an income.
Right. And you will.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So like with that in the back of my mind at the same time, it's just like, something at the same time. I've always been somebody that helped people. And my mom made me into somebody who was compassionate.
Right.
Understanding with no judgment. You know what I mean? Because that doesn't help nobody.
Right.
You know what I mean? But being open-minded and understanding other people's perspective and listening to, what's important to them, and saying that's amazing. Like, I didn't see that, or I didn't know that, because that's not something I had around me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And being appreciative of that information.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Because we're only as good as the information that we get in an age of misinformation.
For sure, man. That's deep, right? And that's so true. It really is.
And for me, like, one of the biggest things was having wisdom and knowledge and intelligence, going back to that question I asked.
Yeah.
Wisdom is one of those things where it's just like pain and suffering is like the only way you can have it. And as much as somebody can pass wisdom down to somebody, right?
Yeah.
It's just words on paper until you understand what it meant, just like philosophy.
Right.
You know, it's a class or a struggle or a trial that you had to go through in order to figure it out. Right. You know what I mean? And for me, I've never been a victim. I've survived some pretty intense things, and I'm extremely grateful for it.
Yeah.
And I don't go around putting my fucking hands on people. I don't go putting my hands in people's pockets. I don't go around comparing myself to other people.
Right.
I'm focused on myself. Even if I'm focused on beating the shit out of myself.
Right.
You know, because you know something? I'm my worst enemy. Nobody else really bothers me.
Exactly.
Because if I'm freaked out about what I do to myself, I implode because I can't handle what I would do to someone else.
Right.
You know what I mean? Letting that part out of you, that 1% that just... And the thing is, like, you never fight when you're angry. You know what I mean? You fight with an extreme calmness. Like, it's unnerving. You know what I mean? With that sense of, like, violence, of understanding, like, somebody trained like a Marine or something. You know what I mean? Somebody that knows how to shut you down in like 6 different ways.
Right.
You know, trained to break your arm in fucking 20 different ways.
Kill you with a pencil type thing.
Keanu Reeves type shit.
Yeah, John Wick, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that type of information, man, that comes from a teacher. You know what I mean? My life, compared to what some people have to go through, I'm extremely lucky. Because it could have been worse. It could always be worse.
For sure.
But using that and saying, you know something, I did this and I survived that, and I smile and I treat people with kindness. How do you survive that? You just do.
Exactly.
You just do.
I think you do need to have will, though. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's something to the will to survive, to push forward, and furthermore to thrive. Right? Like, I expect to survive. I don't look at that like a victory. I'm like, we gotta thrive out here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
And you have a wife and kids, and that's your bread and butter, right? Like, that's the reason you do everything, right? So
I mean, that's a part of it, but it's a part of the collective goals and mission for life. Within that, it encompasses having a family. At the same time, though, unless you guide and direct the family to a cause, it's nothing more than further providing cannon fodder for the corporations. You know what I'm saying? So it's up to each individual to make that into something meaningful. You know, like make it something transformative, metamorphosize all this muck and mire of reality, which is a difficult thing to do. You know what I mean? Especially like if you don't have like a line that's continuing its reach. I'm like a first generation creator of family. So not having like ancestral help or help of functioning older adults, at least on my side, my wife's side, they've been there and have helped. But now I'm closer to my family. So, but not having that is weird. You know what I mean? It's unnatural. And it just further adds to the list of unnatural shit that's going on in the reality in which we live. And then, of course, the question becomes like, okay, so what do? Do you complain about it? You know what I mean? Or do you adjust and do what you can where you are with what you have? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that's all you can do is play the hand that's dealt. That's all you can do. Is that right. For me that's where I'm at. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, I'd like to find a good woman. They're hard to find right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We live in an age in a country where sex sells.
Yeah, it does.
You know what I mean? And it's hard to find a woman that has respect for herself and is capable of carrying herself, because that's, you know, something I didn't have that my whole life. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the women I dealt with weren't that.
Right.
So when a woman like that comes along and tries to pay attention to me, I'm just like, well, hi, you know, like, what's up? Like, what's going on? Like, I treat everybody the same way, whether it be the janitor or the CEO. So when it comes to talking to women, it's not an issue.
Right.
But as a man, it's just like, you really don't want to be around women when you ain't got shit to offer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
You know, like, I can offer time, but I ain't got money. No.
But then
you gotta have some money.
Right. But even when you offer the time, it becomes counterproductive, because that time you could be using to further create money, which is good not only for you but for everything. And it just becomes you're taking two steps. You're taking one step forward but two steps back. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, it may take some time to realize that, and you don't want to have to waste that time. So, like you said, you know, pull yourself together first, and then also when we out here, when we be out here needy, looking for that outer like good feel, we have to. There's a level of understanding that we got to climb through that says it's gone, you missed it. It never has been there, and you can never expect it to be there, right? Like, you can be open to the fact of receiving, but to expect and demand will open doors of disappointment for you. You know what I'm saying? So, we are all responsible for giving ourselves what we need. And I don't mean it in a sick, twisted kind of fashion where we're just literally living our lives in our head and no thing in reality matters. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is the ultimate view of the world and attitude which you carry, right? Like, good attitude doesn't just say, oh, I'm just forcibly optimistic. No, when your attitude is sincere and authentic and seasoned and you know, well positioned, it can get you a lot of good things. Like, because we have to, every dollar we'll ever earn is going to come from a result of how many people we can reach and what is our interaction with them. No matter what job we do, ultimately it's connected to either a product or a service that a human being needs.
Yeah. Still the way we get money.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So it only makes sense to, who doesn't like somebody with a good attitude?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, imagine
somebody who can take constructive criticism.
Exactly. Somebody who can pep up and make things good in the environment. You know what I mean? Somebody just adds lighting in the space just off being there. Or a server, for example, who has a great attitude, checks on you, makes sure your water's topped off, and all your needs are met, it's timely, an arrival, cleans, picks up, wishes you well. I mean, it would almost be criminal to not want to leave somebody like that money, as opposed to somebody you got to hunt down, you got to walk, and can I get some water, can I get some napkins, I'll be there in a minute. And then
Somebody that knows what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. But that person still expects a tip because they figure, well, that's a social norm at this point. So I demand and expect a tip, whether I provide excellent quality service or not. You know what I mean? They're manipulating something that has been in place. So for me, I say, or even sometimes when people will ask me for money in poor places like this Holiday down here or something, and I'll be like, bruh, why not have a bottle of Windex in your hand and some paper towels, and even you can use your Holiday. They have it outside. You can even just use it while I'm going in. You could be like, hey, sir, big homie, can I hit your windows while you go in? I'll have them looking squeaky because I'm a little short right now, and rather than me asking, I'm gonna just do something for you, and then just hit me with whatever you can. I'm not even gonna ask for just whatever you can, man. Yeah. And he do an excellent job. I'll be like, I'm gonna feel like, all right, here's 5, 10. You know what I mean? Just to keep the good energy. You know what I'm saying? That's how I look at it. Yeah. Whereas just off begging, I might hit you with some change. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like, where's your dignity? You know what I'm saying? Like, we could all ask from time to time, but at what point are you going to provide a product or a service? That's where we at right now. Products and services.
I think the only thing I really got is my own story, man. You know what I mean?
That's a product.
Is that a book? Is that a book?
Well, hell, it's a book, but even talking, right? You know what I mean? Your voice provides a service. It's a product. You know what I'm saying? And that's the beauty of the time in which we live, actually.
Right.
And the ability to reach far and wide fast. So those are some of the blessings of our time, actually.
And something that's one thing about me too is like, that's why I've always loved poetry or rap music, or music in general. A lot of that's different forms of poetry.
It is.
You know what I mean? But there's always been like just spoken word poetry that is just amazing. You know what I mean?
Right.
That allows you to do something a little bit different that is away from music.
Right.
Because, holy fucking dude, I'm thirsty as fuck now. I got nothing to drink.
I didn't even think about that. You should have said so.
Yeah, I got up here just early as hell just because I was getting out the house. You know what I mean? Okay. So I was just out here chilling, but I'm gonna have to get going here too. So
yeah. You're right.
Maybe next time when we talk about something.
Yeah, we are.